Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Wednesday. It's a hang up. I'm Dillahunty. Joining me this week, well, we'll get around to figuring that out a little bit later. How you guys doing? Let me get a couple of announcements out of the way. First of all, I'm not going to be doing a show next week because I'll be out of town having some dental work done. There should only be, after next week, one or possibly two more procedures, and I don't know whether or not they'll impact Wednesday. I'm willing to go get this done, however and whenever I can, because I'd like to be able to keep smiling and chewing without pain or difficulty or anything like that. I just noticed I didn't have both my earbuds in. Not that it matters. So normally on this show, it's called The Hang Up, and it's partially called The Hang Up because I have a reputation for hanging up on people, which the reputation is well deserved. And by the way, so is getting hung up on in most cases. But also it's about what I'm hung up on. And for the last couple of years doing this show, I have come in with, here's what I've been thinking about for the day. And so today's hang up is Elon Musk's poem that he posted today. So I have that up on the screen there for you. Here's his poem. I will try to do it justice. Atheism left an empty space. Secular religion took its place, but left the people in despair. Childless hedonism sans care. Maybe religion's not so bad to keep you from being sad. So there's a lot of people who are impressed with Elon Musk for many reasons. I've never been a fan, never been impressed. I don't think he's particularly intelligent or inspiring. Don't think that he's actually done much of anything other than become the richest man on the planet by having advantages and exploiting those advantages, ethically or unethically. I don't know. But let's take a look at this. Atheism left an empty space. Wrong. Atheism is the position of not being convinced that a God exists. There is no empty space. Just like if there's a spot in the front yard where you haven't yet planted a tree, that's not, the absence of that tree is not an empty space that needs a tree. However, if you had somebody dig a hole in your front yard to plant a tree and they never showed up with the tree, then the hole would be an empty space in need of a tree. But atheism didn't leave an empty space. To the extent that atheism is living one's life without a belief in God, evaluating claims of God and finding them wanting, the hole was created and carved by the lies of religion. You have a God-shaped hole in your heart. How many times have people heard that? You've got a God-shaped hole in your heart. There's a problem with you that only God can fill. And this is exactly what Elon's potentially talking about here. And it's a lie, because to whatever extent you feel unfulfilled, it is because you have expectations that were not met. If you have expectations for atheism, you've already made a mistake, because atheism isn't a worldview. It's not a religion. It is not a belief system. It is nothing of the sort. And so if you're expecting atheism to do something like that, it's your expectation that causes the emptiness. It is your expectation that is the problem, not atheism. When he says secular religion took its place, well, if he means secular religion took the place of atheism, no, it didn't or couldn't. They're consistent and compatible. But if he means secular religion filled that empty space, then yeah, if you were one of the people who had bad expectations of what an atheist life was going to be like, in part because religions convinced you needed X or you needed Y or you needed Z, then secular religions, deistic religions, things like secular humanism, could take the place and sort of fill up that hole. And that's not necessarily a good thing or a bad thing, depending on which ones you opt for. But according to Elon, this left people in despair. And I won't even completely dismiss that. There are a number of people who are definitely in despair after finding out their religion didn't meet good standards of evidence and wasn't deserving of belief. But the despair that we experience is because of the expectations built and put in by religion. It has little or nothing to do with the reality of the world. The issue here is that discovering the reality of the world conflicts with your expectations of the world. And then he adds childless hedonism sans care. Well, this is Musk just, I don't know, being king idiot and posting childless as the JD Vance trope insult of the day. I'm childless, by the way. And so is Taylor Swift, who endorsed Kamala Harris. And so are a lot of other people. Some people are childless by choice. Some people are childless not because they made a choice, but because of genetics and biology and various mental health issues and physical health issues and all kinds of things that can lead to someone being childless, whether they chose to or not. Where's God? Where's this God? If the empty space is your expectation for a child, and you happen to be religious, and you believe there's a God who's going to fix that, you have been lied to. And the void that you feel is not merely a biological void built by a need to reproduce, but that void has been expanded by the expectation that you have a miracle worker on your side who can fix that problem. A claim that has never demonstrated that it is true or even hinted that it could likely or possibly be true. And this notion that it's hedonism without a care is absolutely dishonest and false. He's been hanging out with and talking to maybe the wrong atheists and doesn't seem to know anything about secular humanism, doesn't seem to know anything about the various communities. And how weird to talk about childless hedonism. This is the same guy, by the way, who told Taylor Swift he'd put a baby in her. How creepy is that? They're really obsessed with procreation. They're really obsessed with sex that creates babies. They're really obsessed with sex that doesn't create babies. They're really obsessed with anything gender related. They are really fucking weird. They are absolutely weird. And then he says, maybe religion's not so bad to keep you from being sad. Well, that's an admission that you don't have good reason to believe it's true. It is an implied argument that one could choose religion because you don't have any good reason to believe it's true, but you could choose it because it might make you less sad or help you deal with the feelings that are causing the problem. Why not to suggest that if you're feeling sad, if atheism has left you feeling void, why not go back to religion to fill that void? After all, that's where it was created. That particular void was created by religious lies. It's been said before, and I've talked about this, that religions poison you and then offer you the antidote. But the reality is that religions convince you you're poisoned when you're not, and then they try to sell you the homeopathic remedy. There's no there. There's no there in their claims, and there's no there in their potential solutions to those claims. But I will say that there is one additional thing that came out of this today, and that is, while I'm not remotely as grand a poet as the richest man on the planet seems to think he is, I wrote a response poem to Elon's poem. And here it is. Atheism has just one aim, a response to any deity claim. A skeptic's quest to support belief repeatedly fails, and that's my beef. To choose belief, one cannot do without admitting that it isn't true. And that's why Musk writes poetry, because he's failed epistemology. That is today's quick summary of the garbage coming up on Twitter and X from Elon Musk. the guy that people point up to. Oh my gosh, he's so special. He's so smart. He's so creative. He's so, it's just amazing, amazing, amazing. Is boneheadedly stupid and has misunderstood every single point that he tried to make in that poem. And now we're back for the show. Jimmy is here. And so let's bring in my boss and friend and, I don't know, co-host for this evening is...
What's up?
What's up? I was looking at the wrong screen, so I didn't see you were already here and everything. You know, when we went to Reptile Expo last weekend, somebody drove 9 hours with the yellow version of that hoodie and some other to get us to sign it and hang out with us at the Reptile Expo. Then I let them know we do Reptile Expos that are much closer to where they live, so they didn't have to drive 9 hours to do it. How you doing?
Arden, do we sell this one, or is this one internal only? Do we let everybody have the pink one?
I think everyone's got that one, yeah.
Okay. Well, go buy the pink one, linemerch.com. I'm okay. I have a podcast. Jimmy Snow has a podcast.
I know.
I'm going to work that in a lot tonight.
Jimmy Snow has a podcast.
Today's episode is titled 2024 Hot Takes. Can I share my hottest one? I think you'll like it.
Yes, I'm doing, by the way, for those who don't know, we will always put theist callers first, but genuinely, that was the entirety of my hang up. I just wanted to do a show because next week I'm not going to be here. I wanted to do a show, hang out with Jimmy, talk about whatever the fuck we feel like, take calls from people on whatever they feel like. If things have to swap up and Arden gets in here, we might show off some snakes. Who knows? But Jimmy, tell us about your new podcast and this thing that you were just trying to highlight that I interrupted.
No, yeah. Jimmy Snow has a podcast. It's probably on Tuesdays and Fridays. That's been going pretty well so far, except for yesterday I lost internet, so only the audio version went out because that was the only one my mobile network was fast enough to get uploaded until this morning, and when the other ones. And we're mostly talking about politics and current events. Usually starts with a segment called Upvote, Downvote, where we deliver the news, and whoever my guest is, I give them a stripped down version of the headline. They upvote or downvote it, and then I reveal what the full story is. So like, if a bunch of cows were to like stop traffic in somewhere and the headline was something like, pile whatever, I would give the headline like Big Mama's fat ass blocks traffic, and then they would upvote, downvote, and then I'd reveal the full story. That's the little game we start with, and then usually toward the end we have some more serious topics, and that's the main thing. Jimmy Snow has a podcast. It is available where people get podcasts. Here's my hot take for 2020. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
How does one become a guest on your podcast?
They wait, because I'm going to ask if you're wondering. Yeah, it's just a matter of I feel like I'm going through my list of best friends, and you're certainly on there, and so it'll be soon enough.
I was sitting there. I was just like, I want to play the headline game. I don't care about anything else. I just want to play the headline game.
Hell yeah. All right, so in the after party, we often play bad people in the after party. That's just for patrons. So I just draw a random card from this bad people thing, and then we answer. So today, this card would have been, if we were on Patreon right now, you and I would answer, of the two of us, which we believe would be most likely to masturbate on a plane. Anyway, that might be don't call HR on that one. That one was pretty bad. Who was the oldest when they lost their virginity? It's a fun game.
Ooh.
Anyway.
No, I lost my virginity before you did. I don't know if I was younger or older, but I know chronologically it was before you.
Right. I was born in 1990. I hope it was before I was born, let alone before me.
Yes, congratulations. And virginity is a bullshit concept. Now we finally get to what Jimmy's been wanting to say for 5 minutes.
Here's my fun hot take. People attribute Goebbels with the it's not actually his quote. In fact, no one knows where the quote is, but they say he said, what is it? Accuse your enemies of that which you are guilty. He didn't actually say it, but he certainly practiced it. And this is a technique that we have seen used by Donald Trump. Anything he does wrong, Donald. Right. They're the threats to democracy. Frankly, they are the ones trying to steal the vote. They are the ones trying to overturn an election. They're the weird ones. And I have been thinking about this long and hard, and I've been thinking long and hard about the most recent accusations. And I have now come to, this is my conspiracy. You'll have to just maybe respect me less for it. I believe Donald Trump eats cats and dogs. I think Donald Trump is accusing immigrants of eating cats and dogs because Donald Trump, in fact, eats cats and dogs. That's my conspiracy. Every accusation is a confession, and I'm here for it.
See, here's the thing. I get it. We're having fun. We're joking. But it absolutely would not surprise me that Donald Trump has eaten cat and dog somewhere.
Yeah.
Because incredibly rich people are going to travel the world and be introduced to delicacies. And, I remember when I was a kid, back around the time I lost my virginity, long before you were born, there were these places where you could go and rent VHS tapes of movies and things and then take them home and watch them, and you had to return them. Eventually, these mom and pop shops, like the one that was down the street from me, were all replaced by Blockbuster, which is almost entirely non-existent today. I think there's exactly one, and they're just like hanging on to it. Kind of, like it's the last cotton gin. And even though it's fucking useless, we're just going to keep it there and put a brass plaque on it. But when we would go rent movies as teenagers, we'd get, I don't know, Karate Kid, and then we'd get, the Ninja Warrior movies and Enter the Ninja and all this stuff and everything else. But then eventually we would sneak into the VHS tapes that we knew our parents wouldn't want us to watch. So there was things like Faces of Death, and Faces of Death was wild because ostensibly it was footage of people actually dying in front of you. And the truth is that a good chunk of what they included there wasn't people dying, and some of it was fake and staged, but there were some real things on there, including, suicide, live on television. And
they made it a website years later. Literally the tapes that you're describing, they archived them all on a website.
Yeah. And it was I forget the direction I was going at this point, and you probably know exactly where I was going, but I was pointing out that we used to rent those things. And now I don't know what I was replying to. Congratulations. Welcome to being a professional broadcaster and speaker who forgets things.
I hope it was where I would have gone with it, which was that it was going to come to a roundabout way of not only would I not be surprised that Donald Trump has eaten a dog or a cat as a billionaire, I wouldn't be surprised if he's eaten human.
Yeah.
At all.
So there in Faces of Death, I remember there was a scene where they were like showing people eating monkey brains and other things like that in wow. So it would not surprise me to find out that he and other people. However, I've eaten lots of strange things. I was in the Navy for 8 years. We traveled around. I've eaten rattlesnake that I caught, killed and cooked myself. I've never eaten monkey brain, but that's partially because I was never in a position where I could have, and also because I don't like organs. I like awful. It's just awful. But yeah, so when he hears a story, and we've all heard the urban legends over the years about, the people, the funny little foreigners down the street, they're actually, cooking people's cats or rats or whatever. And so don't eat at that restaurant because you're not going to get real meat. And then they were talking about McDonald's putting kangaroo and stuff in it, which, by the way, I've eaten kangaroo on the same day that I took a selfie with a kangaroo. Kangaroo is delicious.
It's supposed to be very lean, good protein. I'd have a hard time eating kangaroos. I just love marsupials, though. I couldn't eat a koala. Couldn't eat a wallaby.
Yeah, I couldn't. I probably couldn't there. We were at the last Reptile Expo we were at last weekend. Some friendly acquaintances of ours who are other vendors at the show, they showed up with their new baby wallaby. And Arden, how soft was that wallaby?
It was the softest thing I've ever touched in my whole life. It was incredible.
They're so nice. I love
like
them.
Drug.
Did it try to untie your shoes?
No, it didn't. But it was in a little pouch that I got to like cradle, and it was so sweet and adorable.
She could have just run around with that pouch on her all weekend.
I hope this doesn't dox me, but I live so close to a kangaroo something. I don't know if it's a preserve or a zoo or whatever, but last year, I think I messaged you. I might have sent you screenshots of the alerts on Facebook that there were some had gotten out and apparently it made it all the way to our town and people were trying to find the kangaroos. So we're getting weird messages like, "Hey, if anyone sees a kangaroo, please DM us." It was funny. It was a wild time.
Hey, we both said the same thing, only the delay made it sound like we almost said at the same time.
Which one of us influenced the other one to make that our filler phrase? That's the question.
I don't know, but as someone who virtually scrubbed every out of my speech patterns decades ago, it's still going to happen on occasion. But yeah, that was a conscious effort. By the way, for anybody asking about
Goldblum with it.
Yeah, for anybody asking about things to do, listen to yourself and find the things, the verbal patterns that you find problematic, and actually, consciously start cutting them out. Yeah, tonight we are having fun. Jimmy's here with us. By the way, I don't know if anybody knows, but Jimmy Snow has a podcast. And
Jimmy Snow has a podcast?
I know. It's like one of the first signs of the apocalypse. But also we have we take calls on this show and on all the other shows. Let me give the rundown of all the shows that are coming up here on the network. And we've got callers already on hold that I definitely want to get to. But remember, we'll take theistic calls. We'll take calls about politics. We'll take calls about, virtually anything and everything. But we're genuinely, I am genuinely in a good mood and wanting to have fun tonight. There's going to be so much raw politics between now. Well, actually, not next week because I won't be here. But between 2 weeks from now and mid-November. And I've got big guests lined up. We're going to be talking about Project 2025. We're going to be talking about the Electoral College. We're going to be talking about the potential for civil war and, the exaggerations and what people are potentially hyperbolizing. But let me tell you what's coming up for the rest of this next week or so right here on the line. Tomorrow's Transatlantic Call-In show with Josie and Ben has been moved to 6 p.m. Central instead of 2 p.m. Central. So whatever time you normally tuned in, at that time, you should lay down in a chair, take a nap for about 3 hours, set the alarm, get yourself up, have some coffee, get an energy drink, and then be ready to go at 6 p.m. Central, because Josie and Ben are going to be there to answer all your questions about trans rights and trans issues. The Sunday show, the 2 o'clock Sunday show this coming Sunday is Seth and Paul. And the Sunday show after dark is myself and Forrest frickin' Valkai, who I just referenced today because a mutual, well, not even acquaintance of ours, really, somebody we both know and respect. So if you see this, Forrest, I'm talking about Clint, is getting ready to open basically a mini university, expanding his reptile thing to be a full, go learn about biology, life, husbandry, reptiles, all kinds of stuff, all the things that he's able to teach. I'm excited about that. I'd love to see if Forrest has heard about it and what he thinks. So we'll probably talk about that a little bit on Sunday. Monday, Skeptalk will be John Gleason and Paul. Tuesday's Chewed Gum at 6 p.m. also is Eve and Alyssa. And next week was supposed to be me and Ian Harris, a comedian, atheist friend of mine that I've known off and on and online for years. Unfortunately, we have rescheduled that. I've already talked to Ian because I'm leaving town for a dental procedure thing, and Ian will be back on another time. So for everybody who was looking forward to that, that's where we are. And that's it for my announced upcoming shows.
I'll probably do a show the Wednesday night for you. I'm probably fill in. I like to keep the algorithm happy. Your counselor, You're saying you're not doing the show at all, or you just need a new guest? I sort of.
I already moved Ian. So if you do the show on Wednesday, or if you do a show in the place of this next Wednesday, you'll need to get somebody to get on there.
Cool. Yeah. I was seeing if you moved him because I know you're doing St. Louis again soon. So that's what I was double checking.
That's where I'm going. Yeah.
Cool. Everybody, my only announcement is Eve is getting married, I think today or tomorrow. I think she's eloping this moment. She's in her current eloper. I don't know when the official moment is. So at some point, go to Instagram and leave a comment on one of her things and just say, Jimmy Snow has a podcast. Congratulations on getting married. Not in that order necessarily.
I promise she is worth the congratulations. In case anybody didn't already think so, but since everybody likes her more than they like me, I'm sure that they've all left the show now and stopped watching so that they can go say kind words to our friend.
Do it on your phone, not on the. Oh, I guess you're probably watching on your phone. Y'all watch YouTube on your phone? How much are y'all watching YouTube on your phone? Anyway, I'll make a poll.
I watch our shows on my phone if I'm not on them. So like if I'm downstairs working on something, or if I want to play like Binding of Isaac on the PS5, I put our show on the phone, set it on the arm of the recliner next to me, and then I play while I'm, listening. And people can tell when it happens because whoever's on will get a call that I just can't not comment on. And then all of a sudden you just see my name pop up in chat with like a rah, 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 type of, this is what I'd say. God damn it. It's terrible.
Yeah. I always know when you're there.
You want to have some fun?
Always.
I got a caller ready for you if you're ready.
I'm having a great day. I'm quite tired. I'm at the end of it, but yesterday I had a really bad day, but today was as good as yesterday was bad. I cheered up my therapist for once, not the other way around. Usually my therapist cheers me up. I cheered her up.
Nice.
Good day.
Whoops. All right. So we have somebody calling in to say, this is Patrick calling from California, pronouns are he, him. He's calling in to say Kamala Harris should not be voted for based on her being untrustworthy.
Hello?
Yeah. Patrick, you've just made Jimmy laugh before you even said hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Yeah, we hear you.
Matt?
Can you not hear us?
I don't know what's going on.
I tested the call system before the show started.
Arden, I can hear you.
Oh, that's
I couldn't hear Matt though.
The audio buses are set right.
Well,
so I don't
can you
know
hear
why
Jimmy?
Also, I couldn't hear the host speak in between.
So you can't hear either of those?
So the audio bus that you have going
No, I can
out,
only hear you.
Okay.
Are ours set to
What's
bus
that
C
called?
also?
This is
It's very
Patrick.
hot. Yeah, we know it's Patrick.
Yeah, but he doesn't know we know it's
Mute
Patrick.
you for a second, caller. Okay, sorry. So it's set to.
So while we're waiting,
I tested this before. That shouldn't be an issue. I don't know what's going
But
on.
apparently it worked with you. Apparently the one person it worked with was the person it didn't need to work with.
although, I mean, we could put Patrick back in the queue and see if it's any different for somebody else.
Yeah.
There's no reason it would unless, Patrick's not being honest. So Patrick, I know you can't hear me, or maybe you can when you're in this, but I'm going to put you back in the queue for a second. Okay. So we put Patrick back in the queue. We're going to test one more. This is Ezekiel, pronouns are him, calling in with a question. Ezekiel, can you hear us?
I'm Ezekiel. From Tupelo, Mississippi.
Can you hear us?
Hello, Ezekiel.
Caller, can you hear the hosts?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
No, do you hear me? Ezekiel, can you hear me? No.
Ezekiel, can you hear me?
Okay, you can't hear the host.
Ezekiel, can you hear me?
All right, put him back in the queue.
Sure.
I'm so confused.
I will now mention, because just in case they hear the show while they're on hold, Ezekiel, we had to put you back in the queue because we're trying to solve a queue because we're trying to solve an audio problem. And while Arden works on that,
Arden, accept my
I know that
remote
Jimmy
request.
has a podcast, but apart from the podcast that Jimmy has, I will say I'm gonna put you on the spot about something just because I know we need to find out. There are people who've been asking for the other line shows to be available as podcasts. And we've been doing promotion both on the Patreon, which is patreon.com/calltheline, and here. What do people need to do if they would like their favorite line shows to be ready as podcasts in the eventual future?
Send me money to Cash App. No, I'm just kidding. Now that I'm learning how to podcast, that's good. That's an inevitability event. Essentially, we're working on the back end, and it could be very, very soon. Let me give you an Elon Musk very soon. It's going to be. I don't know why I was going to do the Trump thing. I'll say it'll be done by next weekend, but on an Elon Musk time frame, so that means 2028. But no, much sooner than that, it will happen. We're working on how we want to do our back end of recording so that we can adjust everybody's audio after the fact to better perfection. Because when you do an audio only format, you have to nail the audio even more. So that's the thing that we're working on.
So while we're working on the audio show, we've got a couple of atheists on hold. Happy to get the atheists on. There's good questions. There's a question about bodily autonomy. There's a question about epistemic justification. Then there's Patrick, who says that Kamala Harris shouldn't be voted for based on her being untrustworthy. And Ezekiel wants to know why we don't believe in God. While we're still working on this, I figure Arden, can they hear us while they're on hold?
Hey, was this toggled off before?
I toggled it off because the caller kept responding when I was trying to talk to you guys, and it was distracting.
Okay.
But it was toggled on.
Let's go ahead and try and take another caller and see if resetting the virtual cable worked.
We'll try it again. All right, we'll see if Patrick can hear us now. Patrick, have we fixed the audio problem?
Hello? I heard the beep, but I can't hear anyone.
Okay.
You don't hear me either. Right,
evidently not. So he heard the beep.
Arden, just tell Patrick to stay muted until he hears his name. To stay quiet, but that we're gonna leave the line open.
We're trying to do some audio testing, Patrick. If you could stay quiet until you hear, we're gonna run some tests and we're gonna use you. Okay, thank you so much.
Yep.
Sweet. So I'm gonna keep talking, and basically Patrick can let us know whenever he hears me as Arden works towards those sorts of things. I'll tell you guys, for those who don't know what's going on and why I'm taking another dental appointment, I'm having basically most all of my mouth replaced. I inherited some bad teeth and treated them poorly. And so the last procedure I went and did was to have everything top and bottom removed from here back. And then I'm going to go up and get some molds made for some implants and a denture appliance. I don't know what the correct label is for the upper one. So that's what I'm going to go get done next week, is get some implants made. But I'll tell you, on the snake front, not only do we now have a beautiful pair of jungle carpet pythons, one of my dream snakes we managed to pick up just the other day, and that is I now have a male, fully adult, 5-year-old, maybe 6 foot, false water cobra. Hydrodynastes gigas, for those who are curious, native to South America, also called the Brazilian smooth snake and other stuff. They're called a false water cobra in part because they can flatten and hood up their throat. But they are not dangerous. They are, though, rear fang venomous. And I guess it's worth pointing out to people that the difference between venomous in the hot sense, something like a viper, something like a rattlesnake, a copperhead, a cottonmouth, something in the Achistodon families, anything like that. Those are venomous animals that have almost like hypodermic needles as teeth. So they bite and inject the actual venom. For things like false water cobras, hognose snakes, boiga, and a bunch of others, they are rear fang venomous. And
the caller is talking on the audio levels. It's just muted.
No. That's the robot.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, the rear fang venomous snakes, they are not harmful to humans. They would tear you up if you're a frog or a lizard or whatever else, but they bite and then chew and kind of grind your flesh and then drip the venom into you. But for something like that, it's generally no more problematic than a bee sting or something. Caller, can you hear me?
Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Sweet.
I figured it out. Oh, I don't want to brag, but I'm a production god. Hi, Patrick.
I don't know. Patrick, you are on live. Thank you so much for your patience. I'll probably be extra nice to you, even though we already laughed at you at the outset. So welcome. You're on with Jimmy and Matt.
Hey, guys. So I am a somewhat progressive, well, not really, I'm a centrist kind of Petersonian type Christian. And I don't think we should support Kamala Harris. I don't support Trump, but I don't think we should support Kamala because she is a liar.
Stop right there, Patrick. would you agree that either Kamala Harris or Donald Trump, one of the two of them, will be elected in November?
Yes.
Okay. Do you think that one of them is preferable to the other?
No.
Okay. I don't understand that. Because when you say
they're both liars.
When you say that she's untrustworthy, Trump's the biggest liar we've ever had as president, so he's untrustworthy as well. But if you're just like, oh, they're both untrustworthy, you still have to decide who to vote for, right?
No, I don't. I can protest.
How are you going to protest?
Wow.
And what does your protest do?
Well, there's actually millions of people in the country. Actually, almost about half the country votes the same way I do. They don't vote at all. So
yeah,
not out of protest.
That's what I'm. So here's what I was asking. I asked, how do you protest? And you're saying you protest by not voting. So what possible effect can your not voting do? That's what I thought.
How many elections changed because...
I'm sorry, Patrick's gone.
Oh, well, then I'll just excoriate him from afar. I would have asked him how many election outcomes changed the future party's choice based on the protest vote. Which nominee from which party was a result of the people not voting in a future election? We don't have a parliamentary system where you only succeed if you get 51%. We do have an electoral college system by which somebody has to get at least 270 votes, but we don't even have a fair system in place for if they don't get 270. In fact, I've just written a script for the video, but I'll go ahead and I'll stop edging everyone and I'll skip the foreplay now and tell you. There is a very real outcome that's the odds of happening are roughly the same as every other current swing state set of odds, where Harris gets 269 and Donald Trump gets 269 votes. And if that happens, the vice president and the president are picked two different ways. The president is picked by the House of Representatives, who gets to pick between three people, the three top vote getters from the Electoral College. If RFK Jr. doesn't get a single Electoral College vote, he would be out. It would be just the two. And then the House votes, and they get one vote per state. What? I hope people are listening to what I just said. One vote per state, which means I actually did the math on this the other day. I actually can find the list pretty quick. But basically, one vote per state means that if you just go down that line over there of like North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, Wyoming, Utah, Idaho, you can throw in Louisiana, Arkansas. You can actually even throw in Nevada and Arizona. And I think you can throw in like three more. And you'll get 13 states or so total, whose total population is less than the population of California combined. And California will get one vote, and that will account for 13. Meaning in that situation, which may be what happens on election night, as in within the actual odds, it's not any less likely than the other swing state possibilities, that the president will certainly be Donald Trump, because the Electoral College and the states, the number of states which are Republican. Now, here's the fun part, but that leans Republican. Here's the funnier part. This is the way that if Donald Trump is an inevitability, I hope this is the way it happens, through this tie, not through him winning. Because if he wins the presidency that way, the Senate chooses the vice president the normal Senate way. All 100 senators vote, they get one vote. Right now, it looks like the Senate is probably going to stay 50-50. But even if it doesn't, J.D. Vance is not liked by certain senators, and certain senators who are on their way out. For example, Mitt Romney, who is not seeking re-election in, I think, 2026 when his term is up. I hope it's 2026. Otherwise, this is null for specifically him because it's based on the incoming Congress. As long as they get 50 people, and at best, they're going to only win by one seat. So it might be Republicans at 51-49. If 50 people vote, then Kamala Harris will pick the vice president of the two vice presidential candidates, because she will still be the president of the Senate, because that's not based on incoming. It's based on who is that day, which would mean that there is a not unlikely scenario, not any more than the others, and I don't know why no one's talking about this, where in 2025, inaugurated will be Donald Trump as president and Tim Walz as his vice president. It's crazy no one's talking about that, but I'm so excited by it that I brought it up here, even though it wasn't that important. That look at the, I'll send you the map later if you want to see what the breakdown is. But
I saw some of the breakdowns for that. It's disappointing that we. Well, all right. Here's the thing. The caller was suggesting, hey, we shouldn't vote for somebody because they're dishonest. I'd love, by the way, to have the privilege and be in the privileged position where it wasn't necessary for me to vote for somebody who was less than perfect. Unfortunately, I live in the real world, and the perfect is the enemy of the good. And the fact of the matter is that everybody who decides not to vote in this election will have forfeited their say in this election. And you're basically saying that your principles are so important that you can sacrifice everything else about this election and everything that it means to everyone else in order to make a statement that nobody will care about and that will not have any impact on this election or most likely future elections. The caller was pointing out that, hey, 51% of the people don't vote just like him. Well, those people are problematic at best. I'll avoid the stronger name calling, but it's also not true. In midterms, so for example, if you just look at 2018, 2020, and 2022, the 2018 and 2022 elections are both midterm elections. That means there's nobody running for president. And in 2018, the turnout was 49%. And in 2022, the turnout was 46%. But in 2020, the presidential election, 2/3, 66% of the voting eligible population were there, turned up and voted in 2020. And when you look at the information overall, 70% of all US citizens who were eligible to vote participated in, or they were eligible to participate in all 2018, 2020, and 2022. 70% of those people voted in at least one of those, and 37% voted in all three. So while you'd like to take comfort in the fact that, well, the majority of the people don't vote, and that's why I'm casting my protest vote. Okay, then you're extra stupid, because what you're saying is the majority of people decided not to vote. A plurality that could absolutely sway any election doesn't participate and doesn't work together towards whatever their shared goals might be. Voting, by the way, go register to vote. Voting is the best chance that you have to see that your issues are addressed, apart from running for office yourself. And because you're unlikely to win, when you consider how many people wind up in office versus how many people are potentially eligible for office, voting is probably still the best option. But if you're going to say, hey, I don't think we should vote for Kamala Harris because she's untrustworthy, I find you to be incredibly dishonest, because the caller that was saying that is not going to vote. But he didn't call in and say, I don't think we should vote for Trump because Trump's dishonest. That's not the message that he sent. He didn't call in and say, Trump's the biggest liar to ever be president, and I will not be supporting him. He called in to specifically say, Kamala Harris is untrustworthy, and so I'm going to do what 51% of people do and not vote. And I'm going to point out that, okay, don't call me. If you're not willing to fucking participate in the system, don't call me to talk about it. Don't call me to brag about it. Don't call me to see if I'm likely to take your side. I will not take your side. It will never, ever happen. Because what you're doing is you're saying you have nobody in your life with reproductive rights concerns. No matter whether you fall on the give it up to the states to do, or let's do a national ban, whether you're in Project 2025 or the left, what you're saying is you don't have anybody with any reproductive rights concerns. You don't care about that issue. You don't have anybody in the LGBTQ community. You don't care about that issue. You don't care about taxes. You don't care about how your taxes are spent. Oh, what you care about is whether or not somebody was honest at every point at the time that you went to. Cool. Who would you nominate? You're not nominating anybody. You're not voting for anybody. You're not participating. Don't call us to tell us you're not participating. Just do it.
Yeah.
That's like when you're on a Facebook thread and you're like, I'm not going to say anything in response to this. You just did, dumbass.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I'm just going to leave now. Cool. You don't have to announce your departure. You can just fucking go.
Yeah. Whatever.
The rest of us will
I dare
care
you
for
to call
you.
back, Patrick. I wanted to know what lies specifically bothered you. Like, what's her worst lie? Because I feel like I can find a run-of-the-mill everyday lie that is worse than her worst lie. And then I'd love to know what the threshold is between a person who lies and a liar, and where you are going to find a person who doesn't meet that threshold at all. Literally all politicians, and in a way all people, you only can get the people who are the most honest. Because there is also a case of people who lie to themselves and therefore are repeating those lies.
Yeah. The people who think not voting is a protest, you're lying to yourself. You have to come on a show to tell us you're protesting, because otherwise we assume you're apathetic. And in reality, you are apathetic. You're just proud of it. It's bizarre to me.
I've never seen people put so much work into not doing something. It's like, fuck off. Just go to the polls and shut the fuck up.
Let's, since we tried to get him on a little earlier, and Ezekiel should now be able to hear us pretty well. Ezekiel is a theist calling in to ask us why we don't believe in God. How you doing, Ezekiel?
All right, sir.
What up? You gonna tell us why we shouldn't believe in God?
Is that all you wanted to know? Is why we don't believe in God?
Well, the Bible's pretty clear. So I don't understand why y'all don't believe in God.
Oh, this
the
is a real
Bible's
caller.
pretty clear, so you don't understand why we don't believe in God. I apologize, Ezekiel. I'm having a hard time taking you seriously because you do realize there are other God claims other than the one in the Bible, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Okay. Why don't you believe in any of those?
Because the Bible shuts them down. Like, it shuts down Mormonism and Islam in like one Bible verse.
How can the Bible
shut
shut
them
down Mormonism when Mormonism didn't exist when the Bible was written?
Well,
I
when
know
you
the
have the
answer.
Bible saying that, huh?
I'm just saying, I know the answer. I just want to see if you know the answer. I'm quizzing you. Sorry.
Well, yeah, well, I know the answer is just, the Bible clearly says that, Satan can turn himself to an angel of light, right? What did Joseph Smith see? An angel that gave him a different gospel, right? And he got it out of magical hat and underpants, right?
So you're saying,
Then you have the Muslim Hadith.
Hang on, shut up.
The Muslim Hadith said that.
Shut up.
Hang on.
Thank you. It took so long to get you to stop. Oh my God, he's not real. Ezekiel's not real.
The Muslim Hadith said that Angel Gabriel choked Muhammad 3 times in the cave.
It's not a real call.
Ezekiel,
it's not a real call.
What have you been choking?
Ezekiel,
I don't
do you
believe in
think
God
we need
because
atheists?
I don't believe in a God because there's not sufficient evidence to believe in any God. Do you have
So,
sufficient evidence?
well, there's plenty of evidence. It's just that you just want to stick your fingers in and go la 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 la. Like
Okay.
Look at people whining over Gaza. The Bible
say
says
goodbye.
Gaza going to perish,
Ezekiel.
right? It says in
goodbye,
Zephaniah 2:4.
Ezekiel, say goodbye.
It's going to be abandoned.
Ezekiel, say
It's going to
goodbye.
be abandoned.
Ezekiel, say goodbye.
It's going to be abandoned. It's me,
Ezekiel,
Emery.
say goodbye. Ezekiel, say goodbye. I gave you multiple opportunities to say goodbye. Now you're banned. I got your 662 area code, got your number, gonna ban you.
It wasn't a real call.
Yeah. I don't need my time wasted by people who are so bored that they would wait through 50 minutes to, the Bible proves it. Blah, blah, blah. Nobody thinks you're real. You know what they think you are? right there.
If he had behaved that way and it started at the beginning by using a phrase that I would recognize from the Hebrew Israelites, the Black Hebrew Israelites group, I would have believed the method by which he was over talking everything. But because he didn't use those clear, because that is exactly how they argue, like that was identical to that shit. But other than it, he didn't do that, so I was checked out pretty quickly.
I'm a little confused by this one, so we'll have to see how it goes. But Olivia is a theist in Texas, pronouns she, her, who's calling in. Olivia, are you saying, why does it matter if you vote? They're all corrupt. She's a Republican in a disguise and a closet turf. Or is this something that you're quoting someone else saying?
I believe this. I think that's true. I think she was a very aggressive prosecutor.
Hang on. So let's do this piece by piece. You ask, why does it matter if you vote? Do you think that votes don't matter?
I think that our system is set up where we don't really get a choice and we get symbolic choices of red versus blue. But
that's not what I asked.
As the policy goes, no, I don't think that. Yes, I'm going to be simple. Yes, I don't think it matters.
Okay. So you don't think votes determine who winds up president?
I think votes don't determine policy.
That's not what I asked. If you could answer the question I'd ask, this will go really smoothly. So do you think
votes determine who is president? Yes, I agree.
Okay. Then don't you think who winds up president matters?
I think that, no, it does not.
Okay. So do you think that if Clinton had beat Trump in 2016, do you think the Supreme Court would have been stacked with people that overturned Roe v. Wade?
Yes.
You're wrong.
That Ruth Bader
you are
Ginsburg was on the other side.
You are monumentally, delusionally wrong.
I think Ruth Bader Ginsburg was an evil person who threw that because she hated Obama. She was a racist, and they planned that genocide. I think you are a
batshit crazy conspiracy theorist. Please tell me why you shut up. Please tell me why you think Kamala Harris is a closet TERF.
I think that for Hillary Clinton, it's an intuition. I think that she is a closet TERF. It's intuition. It's my imagination. I admit.
Olivia, why are you telling me about Clinton when I asked you about Kamala Harris?
Because I think the same thing. I think she is a closet conservative who locks up black people.
Jimmy, do you care to talk to Olivia anymore, or is Olivia sufficiently delusional that we should let her go?
Olivia, yeah, I'll try. I'll see if she can handle one honest line of questioning, but it probably won't last very long, I suspect, based on how it's going.
I'm not lying.
Olivia, you said that votes don't determine policy. What does determine policy?
Money.
Okay. Where
like our oligarchy. We live in an oligarchy like Russia.
Right. Great.
No,
I know.
we don't.
I understand that you've read cliches off of Reddit and you're very impressed at your own ability to repeat them.
I've never read Reddit. I believe these things.
Whether or not you were on Reddit doesn't make any difference as to whether or not they come from there. Just like if you saw them on some generic person's Facebook doesn't mean they didn't come from a Russian farm of bots.
Who passes most policies in the country? Where do most policies come from?
I think that policy starts at the local level for like bathroom bans, and then they move up. And it's ardent, crazy people on the local level. I do vote locally. Yes, I do vote locally. Yes.
Good. Okay.
Now, as far as president goes, I don't think it matters.
Stop going a bunch of different places. Okay. We're going to get there. You don't have to try and jump ahead. It's not going to be a trick question or anything. So you recognize that at the local level, voting is important because it's going to affect policy, right? Okay. You recognize. So let's not get quite to the presidency yet. Let's go to Congress. Is it important to vote for your local, your district representative for the House of Congress?
Yes.
Is it important to vote for your senator?
After Beta lost, I lost hope.
Is it important to vote for your senator?
Yes.
Great.
So it sounds like it's important
Roe
to vote for
v.
everybody
Wade.
except for the president.
Is Roe v. Wade currently the law of the land?
No.
No. Is Roe v. Wade no longer the law of the land because Donald Trump became the president?
No.
Are
I
you
don't believe
joking?
that. I believe it was
Are you
Ruth Bader
joking?
Ginsburg
Are
herself
you
who
fucking
believed that.
joking?
No.
Are you
I truly,
fucking
you might call me a
joking?
conspiracy theorist, but
You
I
are
think
a
it was Ruth
conspiracy
Bader
theorist, and
Ginsburg
it's ridiculous for
herself.
you to suggest this is Ruth Bader Ginsburg when she wasn't involved in the fucking decision.
She could have
Dobbs
quit
passed,
a decade
hey,
ago.
moron. Hey, Olivia. Dobbs passed 6-3, not 5-4.
I don't believe in our system. I think it's corrupt. I don't think
Dobbs
on the
passed
national level it matters.
6-3, not 5-4. If that is true, how would Ruth Bader Ginsburg being alive have saved Roe v. Wade?
I don't know.
That's because you don't know shit. You just hear stuff,
I think that
side stuff, and you
I
run off
think-
less than half cocked. You're not even a quarter cocked. You just run off and you're like, oh, I don't trust the system, therefore it's corrupt. You are absolutely engaged in batshit conspiracy theorist thinking. You are taking disparate facts, weaving together a narrative that comforts you because now the world being broken makes sense because Ruth Bader Ginsburg is evil. This is beyond stupid and beneath contempt.
Hang on. Don't pick it back up. Don't pick it back up, Olivia. Olivia, stop. Olivia. Who right now would be the Supreme Court justice in Neil Gorsuch's seat if Hillary Clinton had won?
I really don't know. I don't think it would have mattered.
So no, it actually matters a lot because you said Donald Trump winning is not why Roe v. Wade is over, and it would be Merrick Garland, and then a second death would have happened, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and Ruth Bader Ginsburg would not have been replaced by Amy Coney Barrett. True or false? For Dobbs to pass, both Amy Coney Barrett and Clarence Thomas had to be appointed by Republican presidents. True or false? It's easy math.
Is this true? I agree.
Yes, it is true. Therefore, a Republican president had to be president for Roe v. Wade to be overturned. That is the direct conclusion of what you just agreed with. Therefore, Donald Trump winning the presidency is why Roe v. Wade is turned over. Correct? That's consistent with what you said. Correct?
I don't believe that. I am a conspiracy theorist. I think Israel is destroying America.
Olivia, no, don't you fucking dare mention Israel.
I hung up when I thought you wanted me to take it. And so I hung up when I went, never mind, I don't want anymore. Because she literally agreed with the premise that it took replacing both of them to overturn Roe v. Wade. And then therefore, just the continuation, all I did was add the name of the Republican president who did it. I don't believe that's true. I don't believe it. You're at a certain point, if we deal with a person who is that cognitively dissonant and we continue to let them talk, it's like, imagine if I was bragging all day that I won my boxing match and everybody was like, oh, fuck yeah, Jimmy won his boxing match. And then someone's like, he fought a 12-year-old, right? That's what we would have accomplished by continuing at that point. At a certain point, it's irresponsible to let people whose brains are failing that bad continue to fight.
Yeah, it is. This is why we are in the peculiar world that you and I find ourselves in. And it baffles me. I'm so glad we took a little bit more and dealt with Olivia, and I'm glad you did what you did. Here's the thing. When you construct a logical syllogism, if it is valid in structure, that means if the premises are true, the conclusion must be true. This isn't up for debate. There is zero discussion on this. This is how it works. It is exactly identical to 1 + 1 = 2.
Yeah.
Okay. It is this basis of logic is what this is derived from. So that is rock solid. And so what Jimmy did was he put data in the premises that Olivia accepted, and then Olivia rejected the conclusion. That is that is the very definition of irrational. That is the very definition of unreasonable. because you are taking a validly structured syllogism with premises you accept and then rejecting the conclusion. That is 100% irrational. And Olivia doesn't know anything. Olivia doesn't know that Merrick Garland should be on the fucking Supreme Court if it hadn't been for Mitch McConnell and a bunch of Republicans stalling Obama's pick because it was too close to the election, which is unconstitutional and was allowed to happen. And because of that, when Clinton lost the election to Trump, which, by the way, she did lose, Trump becomes president. Merrick Garland gets completely cut out of this. They start putting their justices on the Supreme Court, and Ruth Bader Ginsburg died. Olivia is so fucking stupid and confused that she thinks Ruth Bader Ginsburg was evil, as if she died on fucking purpose.
Yeah.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to stay on the Supreme Court, and I'm going to make sure that I die when a Republican's in office because I secretly oppose every fucking thing I've ever said. The bucket loads of stupid that you have to dump into your clearly empty brain cavity to come up with that. I mean, I don't know if they make trucks that big. It's just bizarre to me. And Olivia, by the way, who's probably a wonderful, nice person, maybe. I don't know. If somebody thinks Ruth Bader Ginsburg was just evil, they're probably not all that nice. But she's just typical of a ton of people on primarily the right, but some on the left as well, who were never taught how to think, were never taught how to be reasonable, were never taught how do we evaluate evidence to figure out if this claim has merit. Those are the people who are going to wind up getting scammed over and over again by some Nigerian prince. Those are the people who are going to keep voting against their own self-interest or throwing their vote away by voting for no one while pretending that that's somehow a protest vote when really all it is saying, yeah, I can't be bothered to give a fuck. But at least the people who can't be bothered to give a fuck might have a slightly better understanding of what's going on in reality than Olivia does. If your view of this is, well, I think it doesn't matter. Okay, does it matter if you vote on your local level? Oh, yeah. For your representatives and all that? Yeah. But not for president. The head of the executive branch, the one that can unilaterally do some things, and can veto other things, and is the one who appoints the Supreme Court. It's just wild that you can think the most important, because it controls an entire branch, is somehow the least important. Well, it's all about money. Our system's corrupt. Yeah. Congratulations. Point to a system that's not corrupt. By the way, how do you fix a corrupt system? How does you saying, how does your bullshit beliefs that Ruth Bader Ginsburg was evil, and that this doesn't matter? It clearly does matter, because if Hillary had won, we would be living in a very different world right now. We would almost certainly still have Roe v. Wade. At a minimum, just that one issue, because that was all that was actually about. All right, so we've got, actually, I'm going to wait for Jimmy to get back for that, because I have no interest in talking to Patrick anymore, but Jimmy did, and Patrick has called back, so cool. We'll get Patrick on when Jimmy gets back here. In the meantime, let me take, is it Compa? Compa from Ohio. How you doing, Compa?
I'm doing pretty good, albeit I've been a bit confused the last couple weeks.
Okay, well, Compa doesn't have any preferred pronouns, so we'll just run with whatever feels good. How can I help you on whatever you're confused about?
Hi, so originally I was trying to track down Forrest, but I've been watching a lot of the videos on these channels, specifically the Atheist Experience, and
okay, stop. The Atheist Experience is not on this channel, and Forrest isn't here today, but Forrest and I will be doing the Sunday show here on Sunday. But how can I help? What is it you need help with?
So I was trying to wrap my head around something that people in my family and other Christians have been like rapping onto me lately in conversation.
Mhm.
An idea of epistemic justification, which I'm still not sure what that actually means,
It
but it's
means
been
there's
used a lot.
sufficient it means there's sufficient evidence pointing to a particular proposition to warrant accepting that the proposition is most likely true.
Okay. So could you help me in explaining why there's such a big difference between burden of proof for the atheist quote unquote position and just not being convinced versus them telling me stuff like, oh, the existence is that, how else did other things get here? Because I feel like I don't do a good enough job trying to explain that on my own.
Nobody
them
has a
call it.
burden of proof. There is no burden of proof for I am not convinced. Welcome back, Jimmy.
Yeah, make them call us. That's your best bet.
But how could there possibly be a burden of proof for I'm not convinced?
That's what's been confusing me, because I was always told that if you are going to have that position, I have to be able to back up that the evidence they quote unquote provide is not sufficient.
What you're saying is that they're presenting their claim and their purported evidence for it, and they want you to prove them wrong.
I think so, yes.
Yeah, that's not how this works. They have to demonstrate that their position is reasonably warranted. And if they present something that is ultimately unfalsifiable, that means there is no way to prove it wrong, which means you couldn't possibly prove them wrong. Nobody could. And their position is still unwarranted.
Okay.
Often enough, you may be able to just simply get away. If what I think is happening, it may be that you just need to start asking them to source their claims. It sounds like they're sort of saying, well, you know, what's the dumb stuff they say? DNA has been proven to be a code that's descriptive, and therefore that must mean X, Y, or Z. And then if you ask them for a source of the scientific conclusion that that is correct, a lot of times that just goes, well, I don't need to give a source. I don't need to give a source to you for, why don't you trust me? Are you saying I'm a liar?
Yeah, because a lot of it has just been. I'm sorry. I'm trying not to waste too much of your time, but I want to be able to kind of take more of a stand, I guess, this kind of thing, because a lot of Christian views have been affecting my life negatively, and I'm trying to stand up for myself, but I'm not exactly sure how to word things, and I'm still trying to weed through that process as of right now. And you guys seem to be extremely good at what you do, so I thought I would ask. Do you mind if I ask for clarification on a couple other things?
No, go ahead.
Succinctly, please.
Okay, so one thing that kept coming up was the idea of how the Bible's word gets misinterpreted all the time. And I'm not sure how to articulate the fact that through all its interpretations and through all the bad stuff that it says, it just does not outweigh the good. Because from my standpoint, I kind of agree with something I think Matt has said a couple times before, where you can't really find the good isolated in a particular book that we couldn't get outside of that. And to them, they don't think that that applies, because so much of the stuff that we do abides by their stuff. And it is, to me, it just feels like a false claim that doesn't line up.
If I can, my best advice is to watch a way more episodes. And it sounds self-serving, but seriously, it sounds like mostly what you need to do is have some guidance on how to articulate some thoughts that you already sort of understand, but maybe don't have the language to use. And I would just say watch more and start picking up that language. I'd also keep in mind, if I was you, because I think you said this was family, I don't know of anyone in the line who, while I know people on the line, including myself, whose members of their family have eventually left, I don't know anyone on the line who would say that they have successfully argued their family out of believing. And so you also have to ask yourself, what is your motivation and stuff? And are you the right person? Why are you having these arguments with them? And is it worth it? Personally, if I could have had a loving family, I wouldn't have had any of the arguments I had. But that was never an option in the first place, so it worked out.
Yeah, because the main reason that I try to get this through to my family, and I mean specifically my mother, is because she kind of uses a lot of stuff in the Bible as a bit of evidence for the idea that I'm already quote unquote perfect, so I shouldn't want or need to change my body, in the sense that, because I personally identify as trans, but for the past 5 to 6 years or so, where I felt those things, I haven't been able to actually act on them. And when I came out to my mom, I basically got the ultimatum of go back in the closet permanently or lose a house and lose all my ties. And right now, even though I'm of age to make my own decisions, she's still housing me while she helps me pay for college. So I've been trying to get her to. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, the situation's a lot more clear now. But so first of all, if somebody tells you, hey, according to the Bible, this is true. Okay. The best thing I can do is say, I don't believe the Bible. You're going to have to come with something more or something else. I'm not convinced that's actually true. But the other thing is, the Bible doesn't say you're perfect. So if your mom is coming at you saying you're perfect, well, that's not true. The Bible doesn't say that at all. But so it's weird to be using the Bible for that, but it may just do a thing of, this might be that God doesn't make mistakes. He didn't put you like in the wrong body. And that's both a misunderstanding of trans issues and the Bible, and biology, psychology, and sociology. It seems to me, I mean, don't get me wrong, by all means, you should maybe call into the Transatlantic Call-In show tomorrow night and talk to them, as they have much more experience on this. Couple cis dudes here trying to offer that their thoughts on that issue. But when it comes to the claims of religion, if you're a dependent, if your mom is in control of the roof over your head and your purse strings and everything else, as much as it sucks, you might have to temporarily just suck it up. It is, start making the plans to find your way to be out from underneath her roof, out from underneath her purse strings. It may take a while, it may take some effort. And maybe during that time, while you're saying, look, I don't want to fight about this, I am who I am. I guess while I'm living here, I will try not to make this a huge problem for you, but I feel the way I feel. I am who I am. I'm not convinced of your religious claims at all. And you can point me to the Bible every single day, and it will never on its own change my mind. I need supporting evidence. But there's lots of questions, and I'm sure that, Luxander, Ben, and others may have thoughts about what questions to best kind of point at your mom. As a matter of fact, Arden, who's the producer and our producer here tonight and a frequent host there, Arden, did you have thoughts on this call to add?
I actually talked to Compa a couple weeks ago. They called into TACIS. But no, I don't think I have too much to add on to what you've already said. But I know
I have something.
how difficult of a situation it is. Go for
Jimmy
it.
has
Jimmy.
So like Matt, when you clarified the situation, I realized that you don't even know you're asking for a different bit of advice than you're asking for. There's two different ways one could think of having these conflicts, and one is a goal to win, and it's shitty, but it's the way a lot of us are feeling. Even though, as far as winning goes, there's not a clear winner and loser. But I'm not on here debating because I think I'm going to lose, and that's one way. That's not what you should do with your mom. I would recommend you go and look up street epistemology, because there's a very good way to have interactions where, instead of it being, I was right, you were wrong, or I made you look so dumb, the outcome is more, look, I disagree, but at least I now have a line of thought to this where I can see in a way that I can respect that you disagree. And I accept your disagreement from that level. To some degree, that kind of stuff even worked on my family, despite it not working completely. Do I know that that is actually going to get you everything you want? Not at all. However, I'll bet you it will improve your situation. And you should actually focus less on debating like Forrest or Matt might, and more on discussing, like, his name is Anthony Magnabosco. That's the name of the channel, who is very, very good at it. Also, if you want to look at like Eric from Skeptics and Scoundrels, he talks about it on his channel a lot. And I would recommend that is the style of conversation that you're trying to have, much more than debate, because we don't make friends on these debate shows, not by debating, not often. And then second piece of advice, you need to go to recoveringfromreligion.org and get into some of their like group Zoom meetings.
Yeah, because there's just been so much, and I was trying to just write it out for college, knowing that the people at college are very supportive and whatnot. It just got to a point where my mom will essentially like so shaded me over it. But then when I ask her to sit down and talk about it so I can try to present things to her, for example, I'll show her articles from the World Health Organization, and she'll just go on a tangent about how she doesn't actually trust the government because all the people doing that are either trying to control you or make money. And then we go on a loop and okay, why am I even trying to do this? But then she brings it to me and it's like, okay, I feel like I have to defend myself, so she's not just walking all over me.
Street epistemology will not require you to bring a single claim, piece of evidence, or anything. It's a way of basically learning a secular humanist version, not even necessarily that, just a secular version of the Socratic method that's just highly effective and invokes empathy, or at least sympathy, in the interlocutor. So yeah, I mean, even with all of that clarification, my advice is going to be the exact same thing.
Gotcha.
One thing I'll note is your mom doesn't trust the government, trust Jesus, trust the Bible. And the other thing that she might not trust is you. And
trust me, I know she doesn't.
And all of this stuff is seemingly new to her, and it's very likely that the algorithms have been feeding her right-wing, gender-critical, turf talking points and fear-mongering. When you have a presidential candidate who's like, she wants to do transgender. I can't do it. Jimmy, can you do the transgender operation in the bathroom?
They're transing the dogs.
There you go. So when you have a presidential candidate who's spewing stuff out and it's fear-mongering, if you go through the last debate, it's like, she's a Marxist. It's going to be worse than Venezuela. She wants to trans illegal immigrants in prison. They want to take away your guns. They're eating the cats and dogs. I mean, this is just a parade of fear-mongering. And for people like a previous caller tonight, and perhaps like your mom, I don't know your mom, I've never had a conversation with her, but based on what you said, for those people, this is terrifying. And they're finding themselves in a world that seems to be changing faster than they can keep up with, and in ways that they can't begin to comprehend. The internet has been an incredible boon because we have incredible access to knowledge and information, but we also have more incredible access to misinformation and fear-mongering than ever. And, once upon a time, advertising companies would put someone in a lab coat because they know that had gravitas. Like, 9 out of 10 dentists recommend Trident for people who chew gum. The key being most dentists might not recommend anyone chew gum. Their recommendation might be don't freaking chew gum. It's not good for you. But if you're going to, Trident's better than some of the other ones. And that might get you to this. But if they put somebody in a lab coat, that used to carry some sort of weight, but they kind of overdid it. And now nobody trusts people because they're in a lab coat. What they trust is the people who are saying, they just put them in a lab coat to fool you, because that sounds insightful. So every fucking bozo on the internet who is like, oh, the government's just out to get you, they're all taking things that are true and respinning them and amplifying them to a conspiracy theory narrative. I can imagine what it's like for your mom and perhaps my mom and other people's mom to wake up in a world that's just absolutely terrifying. And so maybe in the conversations, just be like, I will talk to you about anything you want, Mom, as long as the conversation goes both ways. I'm an adult now. You could be funny and go, I go both ways. I don't know if you do, but I mean, that might be a funny joke as well to throw in there. It'd probably piss your mom off. But you can say, I'm willing to have any conversation as long as it's bi-directional, as long as we are able to talk to each other, ask questions openly. As soon as it becomes you lecturing me, I don't have an interest in it anymore, because you don't have evidence for your positions and you're denying fundamentally who I know I am. And that's incredibly disrespectful, and that's not love.
Yeah. Yeah. Tell you the truth, it feels like really it's an almost awakening thing to just have someone say that. There have been so many people, partially because so many people I go to college with are religious, but there's just people that tell me, oh, you have to try to sort it out. I mean, she's your mother and whatnot. And it's been something like so weird, because my close friends from high school I still hang out with, they just like, they're always telling like, oh, the stuff that she does is not something you should be doing to your kid. And now I'm at this point where I'm just kind of I'm almost just being faithful that it works out, when I know for certain that I'm probably just going to go no contact once college is over.
She had you. You didn't. She gave birth to you. You didn't have a choice in the matter. You owe her nothing. If she wants to have the relationship, I think it's kind of you to say, hey, Mom, I would like to, but here are the boundaries, and they're hard boundaries. So if you can't abide them, you got to go.
Dan Savage used to tell everybody when it came to like coming out as gay, that you should give everybody a year. 1 year to be awful, 1 year to ask the stupid questions, 1 year to make you repeat yourself over and over and over again. And then that's where you draw the line. And after that, it's done. I don't know if a year is an absolute solid mark for everybody. Every family is going to be different. But from your mom's perspective, you have changed the nature of this relationship. It doesn't mean it's your fault. Doesn't mean you have to that you are to blame, but you're the one in the relationship that changed. And so from her perspective, this is something you did. From your perspective, I presume this isn't something you did. It's just something you are. This is the way things are. And you are learning and, getting a better understanding of you and everything that goes into that. And she's not done that. And so from her perspective, you're the one that changed, and she might be mad at you. She might blame you. She might have to go through the various stages of grief of, hey, I'm losing, the child I thought I had, and it looks like I'm going to be forced to accept a child I don't know and don't understand. I mean, it's a big deal. And that doesn't mean that you don't owe anybody an explanation. You shouldn't let anybody walk all over you. Your mom doesn't own you, and she should not be able to control you. But you are currently under her roof, under her purse strings a little bit, and she's going through a lot. So maybe just say, let's shelve this for a while, talk about other things. Let's bring this up when we're both in the mood. And we need to just agree that at any point, if any of us feels emotionally overwhelmed, we can just stick a pin in it and leave and go on to do something else with no yelling or ill feelings afterwards.
Because that's like the weird line that my mom's kind of been drawing. because like you mentioned, she would be losing a child and having to come to grasp with the one that she now has. She's drawn like a fine line in the sand due to religious beliefs, and has told me, hold on, I have the paper where I wrote it down because it got to me so bad. Without a son, I don't have a child. I didn't spend 18 years of my life trying to raise a B word. I don't want to give you like demonetized or anything. But I rather have a dead son than have a daughter that I never wanted. And it was like that was like the thing that broke me.
I'm just going no contact.
Yeah.
He's already said that's probably what you're going to do. Good, do it. And then see how she feels after a year of that or whatever the time is. See if she stands by it. See if that's who she is. Because what's the worst case? The worst case is you find out that that is the darkness in your mother's heart, and don't waste your time on it. I wish I had wasted less time on members of my family. I think your instinct to go no contact makes a lot of sense. And no contact doesn't have to mean forever.
Yeah. I agree.
Unfortunately, cycles of abuse usually need some amount of separation time, even if you plan to come back.
Yep. It may still be the case that your mom just needs time. But what's currently happening is she's basically telling you she will not accept you. And I don't think that that's likely to change if you give in. So my best recommendations for you are kind of where we started, which is find a way to get your independence. I don't know where you live. I don't know what your situation is. I don't know, by the way, if you need to lie to stay alive and continue and finish your education, lie. It's it's the notion that lying is immoral is nonsense. If you're doing it to save your life, if you're doing it to, save your personal welfare and stuff like that, if you've tried the other options and you have nothing, I hereby bless you to lie straight up to your mom's face if you need to, because she's the one that's making it necessary. She's the one that's making it not safe for you, and you need to work on finding your independence, and then maybe at a later time she'll come around and you'll be able to have some conversations, and maybe she'll be fine with a daughter or a son or a non-binary person. People can change. Some of them will surprise you, but that doesn't mean you need to let them walk over you while they're trying, if it doesn't look like they're trying to change or for whatever reason. I don't have anything more to add on this comment. I wish you the best of luck.
I think we gave you a ton to think about.
Miserable situation that I really feel bad you're in.
Rewatch the call, make sure you catch it all.
Yeah. I'm sorry I took so much of your time. I wasn't planning.
No, you're fine.
Apologize.
We were very happy for the call. Thank you for reaching out, and keep us updated. When you make a decision about what changes you're going to make, how you decide to draw a line, especially consider calling into Transatlantic Call-In Show to let them know what you did and what resulted from it, because they're going to have more trans listeners who are going to benefit from your lived experience, so that maybe they don't have to suffer as much as you do.
That's true.
Got it.
Thanks so much, Con.
Yeah, I just want to say I appreciate what you guys do a lot. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Con.
Big hugs to you and all the best. That, I know we were just going to have fun, and to kind of bring this back to what I said before, I am going to check because, did we lose Patrick?
Yeah, it hung up right at the same time as Com.
Oh, okay. Ooh. I was trying to put Patrick on with Jimmy because y'all wanted to talk. But here's the thing. For the people who don't vote, can you explain why to Com? Com's dealing with a lot of stuff. And Com's someone who's going to potentially have their rights threatened by the government. It's already the case that their rights are being threatened by the government, but it can get worse. Do you have nobody in that affected class that you care about, and it may be the case that you don't. You could be one of those MAGA, right-wing, just hating on trans people nonstop. Literally, I posted my poem to Twitter, and the first comment was from an account of somewhat Eastern European origin with no shared acquaintances or anything else, whose only reply to the poem that I wrote in response to Elon's poem was, "Your wife is a man." That was the entirety of the response. These are people's fearful, broken brains. And I think the one thing that's nice is that they used the correct gendered partner title while then intentionally misgendering. And it's funny because like, oh, your wife is this or your girlfriend's this. And I'm like, you're so close, but your brain's just a little bit broken and a little bit clogged with stuff. You could just, blowing one ear hole. I mean, don't blow in your ear hole. That's terrible advice. It was a cartoon moment, not a reality moment. But it's, what do you tell those people? What do you tell the pregnant woman that's having a miscarriage and is now going to, as Colin Harris pointed out, bleed out in a parking lot because of new restrictions, because of the limitations that they've put after Roe v. Wade crumbled because of the Supreme Court? What do you tell the people who can't afford childcare? I'll tell you what J.D. Vance tells them when they can't afford childcare. Go see if grandma and grandpa want to help out.
Yeah.
That's J.D. Vance's proposal. Yeah. Here, let me go out to the cemetery and see if we can dig grandpa up and maybe, like he's freaking, I don't want to spoil any movie stuff, so I won't. Yeah, let's go out. We'll dig grandpa up. Oh, so one of my friends made a comment that, well, I don't know if grandpa's going to be able to find time between doing extra shifts as a greeter at Walmart, because the people who are having the most difficult time paying for healthcare, what the hell makes you think they have grandparents who aren't already fucking helping out? And maybe the reason they'd like to pay for healthcare is because grandma and grandpa are goddamn tired of still being parents 40, 50, 60 years after they first became parents.
Yeah.
It's one thing to not have a plan. It's quite different to have a really stupid, bad plan. Yeah. And I would rather choose someone who doesn't have a plan and is open to engaging with the experts to try to find a plan than someone who is so cocksure and confident that they either post a poem demonstrating that they don't understand anything about atheism, religion, epistemology, or sensible reasoning, or that they decide, hey, I don't really have a plan, but you know what? I'll say I have a concept of a plan, and hopefully that will fool some people. Or, you know what? We don't have any plan, but maybe you can get grandma and grandpa to help out. The stupid burns.
Jimmy still has a podcast.
We've got Yash. Yash is calling from Sri Lanka. He's an atheist. Pronouns are he, him, and has a question for us about bodily autonomy. So welcome, Yash. You're on with Matt and Jimmy.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I had a question for Matt. Can I ask you about your opinions, generally speaking, about bodily autonomy and sexism?
Okay. Sexism and bodily autonomy aren't even in the same ballpark. Bodily autonomy doesn't consider sex or gender.
Yeah, those are two separate things, and I'm asking you, generally speaking, your opinions on both of them.
Yeah, I'm in favor of bodily autonomy, and I'm opposed to sexism, generally.
Generally, so in what cases are you not opposed to sexism?
I find it funny that you didn't ask me in what cases am I not in favor of bodily autonomy, but you went to sexism. I think that there are, in fact, certain stereotypical roles. There are people who want for example, to say, let's just abolish gender and be just one homogenous group of people where there is no notion of man or woman or man things or woman things or anything like that. That would be a complete elimination of anything even close to approaching sexism. Because if you get rid of sex and gender from the discussion, then you don't have that to leverage. I'm not in favor of that because I'm in favor of a variety of views with respect to how many genders there are, what gender roles someone fits, and that necessitates having some sort of stereotypical box about what sort of things are man-ish and what sort of things are woman-ish and what sort of things are neither. And I'm talking about that in the sense of what people wear, what they do. And, JD Vance likes his guy liner, I think, or at least it looks to me like he likes his guy liner. I know a lot of rock stars do. I don't really like wearing eyeliner. No big deal. But if you get a face that's really well made up with lots of color and precision, it tends to be a woman's face, a drag queen's face, or some sort of performance art that, generally speaking, as a truism, in daily life, most men don't bother putting on makeup. And so we can generalize about that. And you can say, well, that's sexist. And I'm saying, yeah, but it's also accurate. So that sort of sexism, I'm not necessarily opposed to. What I'm opposed to is bigotry and marginalization, where sex and gender are used as the justification for marginalizing. Does that make sense?
Matt, my question was in regards to the law. Do you think men and women should be legally, in all cases, be considered and have equal rights, and in that regard?
Equal access, yes.
Okay, so Matt, here's your hypocrisy. You said you support.
I love this.
Yeah.
You asked me a couple questions.
So excited.
And now you're going to tell me where I'm a hypocrite. So please go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to before you interrupted me for no reason. So,
I didn't interrupt you. Jimmy
interrupt
laughed.
you?
But as long as you're going to whine and be pissy about it, do you really want to continue?
Don't worry, I won't do it again out loud. I've got my whiteboard here. I'm just gonna write, "Oops, he did a dumb," and I'll raise the board when you do.
Bring my hypocrisy.
are you guys okay? So you're done. So you said you support bodily autonomy.
No. We weren't actually done. When I said, go ahead, your turn, you can bring my hypocrisy. That was me saying we were done. But then instead of actually talking about the thing you want to talk about, you decided to whine a little bit more about whether or not we're done. So I'm going to interrupt again. And now I'm going to stop interrupting. Please, Yash, where am I hypocritical?
So you say you support bodily autonomy, and yet I was watching your debate with Destiny, and you said you are not opposed to conscription, a military draft, for this very reason, that it is a blatant violation of bodily autonomy. So can you explain to me how do you read this hypocrisy?
It's not hypocrisy. See, here's the difference between me and you, Yash. Instead of asserting that someone is being hypocritical when I don't understand their position and then trying to get them to explain their position, I would say something like, hey, how is your position with bodily autonomy not in conflict with military conscription? But instead, you decided to say, here's where you're a hypocrite, Matt. You say this. I heard you say this with Destiny. Well, you're not Destiny. And the conversation that I had with Destiny, by the way, we agreed in the facts of things. The disagreement was about whether or not bodily autonomy is his preferred argument with respect to abortion. But bodily autonomy gives each person sovereignty over the decisions they make about their body. But one of the decisions that I made was to remain a citizen of the United States, which requires me as a matter of law to sign up to potentially be drafted. That is something that I registered for. And if I fail to register, there are potential consequences, just like there's potential consequences if you don't pay your taxes. There are potential consequences for any number of things. And so that's not a violation of bodily autonomy to say, if you are a United States citizen who wants to benefit from the United States, you will need to make yourself available for certain civic duties like jury duty, like military service. And there are other countries that have mandatory military service, like Israel. However,
So Matt,
the real
that is
question
a
here, because
violation.
I'm still talking, Yash, and you're not. The real question here that matters is, do I think the draft should be limited only to men, or if it should be available to all? But you didn't ask that question.
Yeah, because you were talking. So how about you answer it anyway?
Because you didn't ask that question, smartass.
What a condescending little bitch you are.
So how about you just answer the question instead of wasting even more time? So
Hey, Yash,
are you
how much more of my time do you think you're going to get to waste? Okay, next caller.
Oh, I was going to play a song. I wanted to waste more time. Patrick's back on.
Is he? Cool, because Patrick wanted to talk to you, and that seems fair. So Patrick has dropped a couple times. Patrick Kingham from California, you're on with Jimmy.
Hey, Jimmy. So, yeah, basically, I think only beta males would vote for a woman.
You called back for that?
You're just a troll.
Yep. No, I'm dead ass serious.
Hey, Patrick.
Yep.
Great. That's what your opinion
So you
is.
think
My
that women can
opinion
be
is,
commander in chief?
Patrick, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. That's your opinion that you were going to state. By the way, the fact that you just shut the fuck up when I told you shows you're a beta male, so thank you for voting for Kamala Harris. Goodbye. Thank you. Eat my ass. It's ass flavored.
It's so weird.
Anyway,
I found out mine isn't ass flavored because Arden sang some weird song to me the other day about why did you put a
Whoa.
I'm sorry.
You cannot reveal.
This is too long of a pause to say I found out mine wasn't ass flavored because Arden.
If you guys hadn't interrupted, I was going to get to it. And it was funny.
I have a tendency to sing weird songs with poopy humor like a fucking 4-year-old. All right, that's what's going on. Fucking sickos.
We sing funny stuff back and forth to each other, and for whatever reason, I have these Jolly Rancher pink lemonade popsicle, or not popsicles, lollipop things, whatever. I buy them by the box. I can't really eat them right now because of dental issues. But anyway, I had made a comment about those earlier in the day, and you know how words just get stuck in your head in some cases. She was like, I forget what the thing was, but it was like you could. Why did you put the popsicle on your asshole or something like that? And so I was going to make the joke that evidently nobody's ever tasted it to tell me, but I got lollipop.
I can't believe you're exposing me like this. This is terrible.
Yes, it's exposure that Arden and I sing dumb
like.
stuff to each other that makes no sense. All right.
This is going to make a fun YouTube short.
No, it's not. The person in charge of shorts is going to shut it down right now.
Oh, how could we somehow bypass Arden with the shorts?
With the guy who owns the channel? Yeah, how could we ever do that? It's funny. All right. Alvaro calling from Washington, pronounce him.
Hey, how you doing, guys? Not too bad. So yeah, I just my question was going to be like, what's wrong with you American people as an immigrant? And I just want to say, like, it's not all American people. It's just like guys like Patrick and Olivia, who seems like not voting is.
Alvaro,
I'm
could you
sorry,
just isolate yourself from the background?
Yeah, sorry. My wife just came back, so the kids are excited. Yeah.
It seems to me that you're calling in to ask us what's wrong with the people that we talk to.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But also, yeah. Also, I just want to say, like, you know, like, as an immigrant who lives in the US and who would love to be able to vote, but it's not possible because, you know, laws. Just like,
I don't know.
just
According
vote,
to Trump,
guys.
you're
Even if you vote for the
times.
Yeah, like every other immigrant, right? Now I'm a legal immigrant. Only illegal immigrants get to vote like three times. Yeah,
and dead
that's
people.
bullshit. Yeah, and dead people, right? Anyway, so like, yeah, and also like, what's wrong with this election being like undecided? I don't understand that. Like, I understand that like Americans have a scale of like the left and the socialist and the communist and everything because of your history and McCarthyism and everything, but it's
I know why. I know the problem.
Is it Taylor Swift?
Problem.
She said she was the problem.
About to radicalize everybody. The dramatically unfair class system causes heightened levels of tribalism, where the people who have not fight the other have-nots because they don't actually have the power over the people who are the haves. And if we had more equality in society from a class perspective and a wealth perspective, even if that didn't mean socialism, though I suspect that's what we need to do, we would not have nearly the amount of absolute dog shittery that's going on. But unfortunately right now, not only do we have a very unfair class system, we have a huge group of people who, because they are being exploited by the people in the higher classes, don't want more equality because they are afraid that you, Alvaro, will get a little more equality than they do. And they would rather deny themselves their self-interest to keep brown people poorer so that they have someone to contrast themselves to, the way that rich people only feel rich if there is an adequate image of poor people that actually exist to contrast themselves to. And unfortunately, even the poors want that. The poor people also want even poorer people to contrast themselves to. It's a fucked up class system, and if you could just remove systemic inequality or reduce it dramatically, so many of the world's problems would go away. Be a socialist. Progressivism's not enough anymore.
Yeah, I love the concept of getting more equal than somebody else. Like it's ridiculous. Yeah. So the thing is like I don't understand also like media in the U.S. Like what's wrong with them? Like trying like to equate the discourse of the left and the right. Like it's been represented.
What did you say? You don't understand. What was the word?
They try to equate like the maybe I don't use a good word.
The word before that, you said you don't understand, and I heard media, and I don't think I don't understand media either. What is it?
Media.
Oh, media.
Got it. Sorry, man. I'm not a native speaker. Like I'm French, so
better than I do.
It's fine, but you're asking questions we can't answer, and we don't know either, and we complain about the exact same thing every single week.
Okay, sorry.
I'm complaining about why people are trying to pretend that both sides are the same when they're not. I'm curious as to why people are suggesting that voting doesn't matter or that they should not vote as a protest. When it's stupid.
Yeah, and it's like weird because like even in the media, sorry, I hope I pronounce it correctly. That they just like ask like Kamala Harris like, hey, what's the detail of your plans on this? What's the detail of this policy? And all the question to the other side, to Trump, is like, are you going to be a fucking decent human being at least once in your life? And like, how does that make like a close race? Like anyway, so my point was just vote. Don't listen to Patrick. Vote. Don't listen to Olivia. Vote.
Okay, but only a beta male will vote for Kamala Harris.
Yeah, I'm like, I know, but just, so like, that's the thing, That's the thing, there's no such thing as an alpha male. There's no such thing as an alpha male. It's like, we are not wolves, and the guy who did that, and the guy who did the study said it was a bullshit mistake that he made. So like, there's no such thing as alpha. We are social species. Just act like it.
Okay. For the record, Alvaro, you've said lots of great things. All three of the last statements you just said were wrong. Alphas do exist in some species, but the concept that we apply to humans is incorrect. And wolves do not have alphas. That was the study that we applied to. But to say that alphas don't exist is not correct. There are many species that have alphas, but not wolves and not humans. Second, females do exist and males do exist, especially if you recognize that as sex. But a person is not, imprisoned to whatever they were assigned at birth.
Where you're going.
And it's not simple
Thank you
binary.
for correcting me.
Yeah. I don't think you're a bad person for the things you just said. But
No. Like it's just, I'm telling you, like, I felt bad for Cam, for the story of Cam earlier. I have a kid who's trans, and I just like I feel for these kind of stories because like parents shouldn't like project that much of their religious belief on people anyway. That's not what I called for. Guys, thank you for taking the call. People, vote, please vote.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thanks.
Definitely.
Thanks, guys.
But if you're going to vote for Trump, don't vote. Join the protest vote. It's time for you to protest.
Yeah.
It's wild stuff.
I think we
got one more caller.
Experience are walruses? I think it's walruses. I don't think it's giant seals, but walruses have alphas, I believe.
I think there's a number of species that have pack leaders, but I think the concept of alpha is a bit of projection. But in any case, the original study with the wolves was what I was going to correct because that was just wrong.
The wolves one was bullshit. Gorillas actually have alpha, and they're even alpha males. But walruses are the most fun because if one could be reincarnated to come back as the head of a walrus harem because you are the alpha male, one might.
All right. We got 2 calls left before we get on to super.
Yeah,
wow. What was that?
Nothing. I'm done.
Okay. Once again, we have 2 calls left before we get on to the super chats for the day. We've already got a couple pages of them, so I want to make sure we get to everything. But here's another question that we probably can't answer. David from Virginia, pronouns are he, him. You have a question that we probably can't answer as well.
Yeah. Hi, guys. You guys are both brilliant at what you do. I did want to ask Jimmy, though. Jimmy, were you ever evangelical?
Yes. I suspect if you could measure such a thing that I might have been the most evangelical person on the line, to tell you the truth.
My gosh. I would never guess it. I would never guess it because you're
he was a Mormon.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I've just watched you be so brilliant with the whole atheist.
Well, then you should take that as a lesson for yourself that religiosity and intelligence are not related.
Correct.
Right.
I didn't get my IQ did not go up when I stopped believing. As a matter of fact, given what we know about IQ, it's probably continued to drop and will continue to drop for the rest of my life, but it certainly didn't go up. And colloquially, I may be smarter now because I potentially believe one or many fewer false things. But it's not a matter of intelligence. You got to remember, this is indoctrination and it's constant, and you're surrounded by other believers, and you are fed that there is a supernatural enemy that wants your soul and wants to destroy and corrupt the world. And so the things that challenge your views about this, they're of the devil, and don't you dare be deceived. It's really easy, and you should pity all those people who are deceived. The protective mechanisms are already there, and smart people in particular are, this is from Michael Shermer, really good at rationalizing things they came to believe for not smart reasons.
Right.
Yeah. That's very true.
Well, I had another idea about my question. Why do you think evangelicals are so susceptible to a con man? I guess that's maybe obvious.
Because they're in an authoritarian system already.
Yeah,
right.
I was going to say almost the same thing. People in cults join multiple cults. Rare, like you can look at people and see that the things they gravitate to are similar to the cult. Like Mormon land, Utah is MLM capital. There's so many MLMs are started there because it is so similar to the same thing as Mormonism. I'm quite tired, so I'm becoming less articulate. But members of a cult never find a cult they don't like. That's not true.
Right.
Sometimes they kill the other people in the other cults, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that Jimmy, how do you think you came out of it relatively young compared to Matt?
He's smarter than me.
I don't know. No, I suspect that a lot of it has to do with the culture that I was raised in. I think that the default was also when I was growing up that God definitely exists was the default, but the possibility of dissonance was higher, and the possibility of having a social community and group to catch you if you did leave, and that amount of social pressure, and the fact that I did find myself defiant, sexual, and queer, and Mormonism. So Matt, correct me if I'm wrong. If you had found yourself all two of those three things, you could have probably figured out a way to be a sexually defiant and sexual and defiant person, but maintain your faith. In Mormonism, you can't. You're either going to be those things and not Mormon, or like back then they would have excommunicated me for so much as kissing a boy, let alone anything else. And so I had to address at an earlier age, and I had to stop making it work because there wasn't an option to serve both my true self and the Mormon church.
Being a generic straight guy, I definitely lacked that motivation. And when it came to like sex stuff, despite being a Southern Baptist, I had sex before marriage, just like almost everybody else. But it was kind of the Catholics can go in and just walk into a confessional and say penance and everything else. We didn't have to do that. It was just, you just talk to God and, yep, sorry, God, I had sex. I know you saved it as a beautiful thing for a man and a woman after their wedding day, blah, blah, blah. I just have so much difficulty with these urges, and could you please help me? And as long as you're sincere like that, it's not a problem. I mean, you're still sinning, but everybody's a sinner. I'm not better than anybody else. I'm just forgiven. And as long as I am sincerely trying to get better, God's willing to work with me. And I was genuine and sincere. So Jimmy's right. That was one thing where there was absolutely no real motivation to change. And we're really good at lying. I remember one of the times that I had sex, sorry to do this, I won't say who it was with. We had decided we did not want to have regular sex, but we did most of the other stuff, playing around, fooling around, and everything else. And then it became, well, does it count if I just put it partially in? Does it count if I put it in and don't move it around at all? Does it only count if I actually come to orgasm during sex? And you all those rationalizations occurred.
Yeah. I also suspect that if I had had a family worthy of the loyalty that they were demanding, that I would have been more reluctant to leave. I was thinking about another difference between us, that I would have felt more bound to it out of a love and loyalty to them. And and as I was thinking about it, I was like, the fact actually that they were pretty awful, probably also enabled me to explore, because I wasn't interested in keeping their community.
Right. Well, guys, the last thing I wanted to say was I'm just mystified why, like in Pennsylvania, it's tied. After all this, after 9 years,
you don't know that. You don't know that.
Trump,
you don't know that.
You guys been convicted?
You don't know that.
Well, maybe not.
I'm baffled that this is even a race. I'm baffled that this man is even a potential president again. I'm shocked that he was a president the first time, but you can't say it's tied, because I am not convinced that we actually have good polling data on anything, and that the world is changing in ways. Basically, you're going to have to wait till the election, because I suspect it's not tied. I hope.
I'll say this.
Yeah.
Something happened today that made me remember why it might be tied, if it is tied. The polls are tied at the very least. You can say that the polls are. You just can't say that the election will be.
Is it Patrick?
It might just be good old-fashioned sexism and racism. And the thing that made me realize that was that Kamala Harris, by all accounts, projects to be even more pro-union than Biden would be. But the Teamsters refuse to endorse her today.
Yep.
I have things I'd like to say about the Teamsters, but I grew up in a New York family and I don't think it's safe. But I'll tell you this, there's only 20%. That organization's only 20% female, and it's pretty heavily white. And I don't know, maybe somebody somewhere would say that they're routinely a sexist and racist organization. And that while I support unions, it doesn't mean that unions are incapable of being sacks of shit, and that it would be a sack of shit move to not endorse Kamala Harris when she is clearly better. And I go, what could be different? If she's better than Biden on it, what could it have been that the Teamsters couldn't get behind her? What could it have been? And I think that the answer to that question might be the answer to your question.
Right. Okay, guys. Well, thanks. I guess that's all I have. It's amazing that we are where we are, and I think you know the movie Idiocracy, right?
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yep. If he gets elected again, that's where we're heading.
For sure.
Thanks, David. Certainly feels that way, despite it being clearly cartoonish. I get it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Bye, David.
Thanks, guys. Great.
Thanks. See you later.
Which is more dangerous, to insult the Teamsters or to draw a picture of the Prophet Muhammad? I mean, it's not the Jimmy Hoffa days anymore. Maybe it's not so bad, but which one's worse?
Oh, they're not going to pay any attention to you.
I'd pull out my daddy's old Union jacket, be like, "No, guys, I'm fine. Look, it's okay."
It's there's a lot that's weird this year, and so I noticed the Teamsters for only the second time ever have decided not to endorse somebody. Although it's the second time, and the first time was last time.
Did they not endorse Biden?
I'm pretty sure that is the case.
Oh, maybe then. Hang on. No, I just looked. They did endorse Biden.
Okay. Then what was I reading earlier? If it's not the Teamsters thing that this is only... Oh, I know what it was. Never mind. I confused two news stories, and I can fix that pretty quickly. And that is, yes, the Teamsters decided not to endorse either candidate. But Scientific American endorsed Kamala Harris, and it's only the second time they've endorsed a presidential candidate in history. The magazine Scientific American, and it's both the last two times they endorsed Biden and they endorsed Harris. So yes, I confused two things. Sorry.
Okay.
This is the final call for today, and it's Marissa. Calling from Utah, pronouns she, her, has a question about explaining atheism to a 10-year-old. So she called the two dumbest guys she could find who might be able to come up with an explanation for a 10-year-old. Hey, Marissa, how are you?
Don't have 10-year-olds. Like, that's neither of
I'm well. Well, it doesn't necessarily, like, the age was just an explanation as to why I'm calling, but in all reality, he understands so much more than what a typical 10-year-old would. But I don't want to. He's still at the level of believing in Santa and the Easter Bunny and the Tooth Fairy and whatnot. That being said, usually whenever I'm explaining why I'm an atheist to other people is, or the way that I explain it is by saying, I don't believe in Santa Claus anymore, so why would I believe in this other mythical imaginary friend? I can't do that to my 10-year-old. So do you happen to have some other tactics that might be sufficient? Either one of you?
Wait. So one of the things, yeah, you can't use that.
Well, he's avidly asking.
Well, it's time to start asking questions about how do we tell if something is real? And you can make lists of things and say, okay, is Bigfoot real? Are ghosts real? Is a tooth fairy real? Is Santa Claus real? Are dinosaurs real? Did they used to be real? Russell Glasser, who I used to host another show with once upon a time, he's a 3rd or 4th generation atheist, and his son is a 4th or 5th generation atheist. And he used to play a game like that of what's real. And it's not about, no, you got the wrong answer. It's about what sort of evidence would we need to demonstrate that this is true? Because there are people who believe things that aren't true. And then there are people who don't believe things that are true. And they are often different types of errors. So you don't have to do you don't have to immediately go in and potentially ruin Santa Claus, although I'm in favor of that. I'm in favor of let's stop lying to kids. I have no problem at all with people who play the Santa Claus game and everything else. But I also have no problem with people who are just like, let's just tell the truth. But you don't have to take it to those points. You can ask questions about other things, and it's really good to have a number of different categories. Things that exist right now, things that don't exist right now, but used to, like some dinosaurs, things that we don't have reason to think they ever existed, like the Loch Ness Monster or unicorns or fairies or any of those things. And pick the things, make a list of things that he's already kind of got some views on. How did he come to the conclusion that, this isn't real or that this used to be real? What's the nature of evidence? Going through that, just encouraging a spirit of inquiry and discovery is, I don't know. Jimmy, you got other stuff. Fix it.
Oh, yeah. Marissa, I'm going to bad cop it a little bit. I'm going to bad cop a little. That was Matt's good cop, and I'm about to bad cop it. Marissa, you don't just have to help him realize that there is no God or arm him with the skepticism that'll get him to that conclusion. You need to arm him with the skepticism that also, as he gets older, he will resist other spiritual scams that are predatory. He's not going to be into astrology and give his money to that. He's not going to be into crystals. He's not going to be into whatever new age bullshit they make up between now and then, whatever fucking The Secret, whatever it's evolved into. It's not necessarily even important that you teach him there is no God or atheism. It's important that you teach him skepticism. And Marissa, you got to let Santa go. It was a bad idea from the onset because it actually primes kids to think less skeptically, to think there are exceptions to this rule of magic, the exceptions to this rule of God. And I grew up believing in Santa for a few years and a lot of other magical stuff. But I'll tell you one thing, I never believed in the literal Easter bunny. My parents never did that. I understood that the Easter bunny sometimes was someone grew up, dressed up as, and maybe if I was at somebody else's party, because it wouldn't have been my family's, we would do there would be some sort of game and we would use our imagination. I don't understand actually why people go, but I want my child to believe there's magic in the world. I would argue that it is your responsibility to teach them that the world is magical without magic, that it is filled with wonder and awe, and you need to arm them with the cognitive faculties that are going to best arm them to not be fooled, to not be gullible. And if you are teaching your kid that Santa is real, I would say 10 years old is old enough to go, all right, now that you're old enough for this, here's how we would evaluate the claim about God. And yeah, when you notice how we did it, you're going to ask, then what about Santa? Why do you have to stop playing Santa? Just because people know. You look at it, go to like Christmas parties where they have kids there. Half of those kids know that's not really Santa. Maybe more of them do, but they go sit on the lap and they get, which is a creepy ritual, I'll admit, but whatever, people like it, like what they like. They sit on the lap and they say what they want and they get their present and then they fuck off to who knows where. I do not support at all lying to children and putting off teaching them skepticism. I think skepticism should be foundational and you should begin teaching them elements of it, primary elements of it, as you teach them to read in the first place. Let the Santa go. don't set your kids up to be annoying, creepy astrology people. Don't do it.
Yeah, that is fair. Thank you both for your input. Yeah, their biological mother is actually a hardcore practicing pagan who like full on rituals and seances and all that crap. And it's hard enough to just let them learn and explore on their own without her even being there going, oh, well, the gods are going to grant you all these magical powers and blah, blah, blah.
By the way,
so
we're talking about someone that's not yours, not your kid.
I'm sorry?
We're talking about somebody who's not your kid, though, right?
No, I was referring to my kid's biological mother. So,
okay.
Correct. Not my kid.
Yeah, no worries. I just always like to caution people that, where other parents and parent figures are involved, things can get complicated. And while I agree with Jimmy, while he's playing the bad cop,
the advocate.
So, for example, I have a niece and a nephew who are just awesome, and my brother's in chat. And when they first adopted them, I talked to my brother and I was like, look, if this ever comes up, if I'm ever sitting around and they're like, hey, why doesn't Uncle Matt go to church? I'm going to tell them the truth because I want to always be honest with my niece and nephew. And I'm also going to say there are people who believe different things. I don't believe that. Other relatives that you have do believe that. You're going to need to think about this, ask questions of them. You can always come to me with questions, and you're going to have to make up your own mind. Fortunately, it was never a big deal. And it could be that rather than saying, hey, Uncle Matt, why don't you go to church? The conversation happened somewhere else. Hey, why doesn't Uncle Matt go to church? And, I don't know. I'm not privy to those conversations and what happened and what people think in private or whatever else. All I can tell you is that I've been honest with my niece and nephew for their entire lives and will continue to be.
I tell them there's no God, there's no Santa, and then I take their Halloween candy.
Yeah, that's not me.
I don't really do that.
I'm diabetic.
I can let go of Santa, but I'm going to let my kids stress that.
Yeah.
Anyway, I appreciate the question. Hopefully that helped a little, Marissa. We got to move on. We've got some super chats to get to tonight. And then I'm going to go.
Yes, you all did. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Marissa. Despite mocking pagan ritualistic things in the same way that Marissa would, Arden and I are going to go watch Agatha all along tonight. So.
Oh, is that a movie or is it a series?
It's a series. It starts, I think it's going to be released 1 or 2 episodes a week from now up through like Halloween. It's basically the sequel to WandaVision.
Yeah.
Which was, I think,
I'll catch that.
The best or second best of the MCU TV shows.
Yeah. I'm partial to Loki, but I like it too.
Loki, I think Loki edges it out maybe a little bit, but I think WandaVision was so good and so brilliant. They're just almost neck and neck. Honey, can you think of an MCU TV show that we like better than Loki or Wanda?
No, not better than Loki or Wanda. Those two were absolutely the best, in my opinion. I also
didn't even finish Moon Knight.
Slightly preferential to Loki.
You didn't even finish Moon Knight? Wow.
Mm-mm.
Well,
got bored.
We are more Marvel geeky than and Marvel simps than Jimmy is. All right, I've got the list. I've already queued up. Yes, there it is.
I liked Thor: Love and Thunder.
You did not.
I loved it, actually. It's probably my favorite one.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Like, I loved the characters they brought.
Yeah, I don't know if it's, I think that's Arden's most hated. Maybe.
So
yeah,
it's my second most hated. The newest Ant-Man is inarguably the worst thing Marvel has put out in like years. It was so
we did
bad.
this on the podcast, though. I got you to admit that there was like 15 worse movies than Love and Thunder.
There are some bad ones, but I love it as far as like the post Endgame MCU. Love and Thunder is like second to bottom, or something around there.
I felt horrible when he said the only reason he's coming back to do Thor one more time was because he felt that he had to make up for how much everyone hated that movie. I was like, I loved it, buddy.
I did not hate it. There were things about it that I did not like. Arden definitely hated it way more than I possibly could. But anyway, enough of the MCU stuff. Super chats, because you guys send stuff in and everything over $10 we're going to read, and we really appreciate everybody. By the way, it's one of the many ways you can support the channel and the network. You can go to patreon.com/calltheline. You can click the bell. You can you can subscribe, you can join the channel, you can go to linemerch.com, and there's links down below in the description for PayPal and Cash App. That is not just us sitting here going, let's see if we can figure out every way we can get a penny out of everybody. Although we wouldn't be opposed to that. The real problem is that our videos frequently get demonetized and challenged and all kinds of things. So while we love the super chats and we love the support of the channel, we've got to kind of diversify in order to keep the network alive. And we greatly appreciate everybody's support. $10 from Squidward Q Sagan, Futurama military general voice. Can you do that, Jimmy? Because I can't.
War were declared. That's pretty good, actually. That's almost identical to what he's referring to.
I never watched Futurama enough, maybe like 2 episodes of the entire thing, so I couldn't possibly tell you.
It was there's an episode where they join the military because they want to get 5% off of gum at the gas station, and then they go to sign up, and they're like, "So we could just do this, get our military discount card, and then never do anything, playing you guys for chumps, right?" And he goes, "Yep." And then they hand him the things to sign, and then he goes, as he's taking back their signed paper, he goes, "Unless of course war were declared." And then a light goes off. They go, "What's that light?" He goes, "War were declared."
Nice. I would enjoy it.
It's a great show. Laura Duarte says, remember to check your voter registration on a regular basis. Don't let the GOP get away with voter suppression. Yes, a lot of places, including Texas, I believe, do roll purges. So you want to make sure that you have not been purged.
Yep. By the way, roll purges are a good thing, not a bad thing, provided they are actually purging voters that need to be purged. The fact that they happen, and they happen necessarily, they could be suppressing the vote intentionally, and they could be suppressing the vote unintentionally. Doesn't matter. Listen to Laura. Go check your voter registration, because Laura knows what the hell they're talking about. $10 from Motherbird. Hello, I would like some advice on how to respond when someone comes up to me and says or asks something along the lines of "Jesus loves you," as if I'm in need of saving. I feel like a deer in headlights. Honestly, if that's the way you feel, I feel like the best answer is, "I'm sorry, I'm not interested."
I would say, I know he loves me a bunch, because he always puts Skippy in my lunch. I'm tired,
that
people.
would also probably run them off.
Yeah, it would work.
I wish I had better advice for you, Motherbird, but if you feel like a deer in headlights, if you are not equipped for those conversations, it should be okay. You can even just say, "Thank you." And if they try to continue pushing the conversation, just say, I don't want to have a conversation right now. And if they keep pushing, they're not respecting your boundaries, but at least you said thank you, because most of the people come up and say like, "Jesus loves you." They think they're doing something good. Most of them are not coming up going, "Watch me, I'm going to terrorize this person over here by telling them that Jesus loves them. Maybe if they're a demonic Satan, maybe they'll say just the wrong thing, and then I'll have to attack." You know, that's none of that's the thing. Generally speaking, they are to be pitied. And you are well within your rights to just say, "Thank you, I can't talk now," or "Thank you, I don't want to talk now," or "Sorry, I don't want to talk now," whatever it is.
My favorite response that I actually do use.
Get the fuck out of my face if you want to, but if you're in a deer in the headlights for Jesus loves you, I don't think that's the response you're likely to come up with.
My favorite I actually do use is I just go, who? And just if you just play ignorant for a while, you've never
they're going to call home. They're going to be like, hey, listen. You know how the Bible says that we have to go ye therefore unto all the world to preach to all the nations until everyone is heard, and we all thought there's nobody who hasn't heard. I shit you not. I just met somebody who's never heard, doesn't know this Jesus thing. But
who? Jesus. Who? Jesus Christ. Who? It's hilarious. It's fun. Scott says, how many super chats could a super chatter could super chats? I don't know that there's a limit.
Send another
There's a
one.
limit to how long I'll be here. Yeah. Another one.
Let us know it's at least 2. 10:04 from Jesse Clark. In the debate. Wow, I have a notification on my phone that's way too loud. In the debate, it amused me how Trump would dodge the question that was asked, focus on things that were never addressed, then act as if he'd somehow won a battle he was never invited to. Okay, I get what you're saying, and sorry, but the debater in me has to be nitpicky. First of all, both of them dodged questions right from the very beginning. Kamala didn't answer the very first question. She just presented her plan. She was going to stay on script, and this is fairly typical. But also, he was invited to that battle. I mean, literally, he was one of 4 people who were invited to that battle, and that's Trump, Kamala, and the moderators. I gotta stop doing that. Trump and Kamala. It needs to be Trump and Harris or Donald and Kamala. We need to. On the one hand, he's been president, so yes, he's already Mr. President, but she's Madam Vice President, and I want to make sure that there is a temptation on my part, because I feel more connected to her, to make it more impersonal, to use the Spanish tú instead of usted. And I want to make sure that we're not doing that or giving the impression that there's not as much respect because she's a woman, because she's mixed race, because whatever reason there's somebody could give.
Biden's branded as Joe. Kamala is branded for multiple elections as Kamala, like a one-name sensation like Beyonce. This is one of those ones where I'm like, if that is internally what a person's doing, definitely address that. But at the end of the day, Kamala is a unique name, and that's why they leaned into it for the branding. Donald Trump, we called Trump not because we respect him, but because he's always been Trump. Trump Tower, Trump. Yeah.
But we also. So I was in the military for 8.5 years. The only time I'm worried about doing it is when I say both of them, because it's the disparity between how I address each of them that's the potential problem. But the reality is, military folks frequently just address each other by their last name because that's what appears on your uniform and other stuff like that, you know. And the military was predominantly male, you know, and
yeah,
it changes. It's the same thing with the boys club and the camaraderie. And, you know, I just want to make sure that when I mention both, I keep it a parody in that. The rest of the time, I don't no problem calling Joe, calling Kamala. I like calling Kamala because then it gets to remind people how to pronounce your goddamn name. And I love that the moderators even did that. Yeah.
You've convinced me. I will extend the respect, and from now on will call her Madam Vice President Kamala Harris, and I will call him Fuckface McChicken Tits, which is what the two of them deserve.
See, I think that's fair.
I agree.
I'm definitely not voting for Fuckface McChicken Tits.
I'm pretty proud of that one.
I love
McChicken nuggets though. HP Lovecat says, I've been to the Reptile Expo in Hamburg, Pennsylvania. It's actually had lots of venomous snakes. It was pretty stunning to see how easy it was to get. Love the show, guys.
Yeah, we do a number of different reptile expos. I'll keep this short because I talked about stuff earlier on. And thank you, HP Lovecats. We do a number of reptile expos. Most of them, they do not allow venomous snakes. There are a couple that we do where there are venomous snakes. I always like going over and looking at it. Somebody will have a gaboon viper and some cobras and copperheads. I don't have any interest in, well, that's not true. I'm not in any hurry to keep any venomous, hot, deadly snakes. There are, if I had the dream, Arden will back me up on this. If we had the dream facility that we want, there would absolutely be venomous snakes on display there, but that's a completely separate thing from what we're breeding, what we're working with, pets. Display animals for education, absolutely.
Everyone should go look up. It's Trimeresurus insularis. It is a blue pit viper. It is the most beautiful fucking snake on the planet, and I want it so bad. But I don't have the specialty for it.
I'm gonna get a picture of that so that they don't have to look it up. Oops.
While you get a picture, I'll keep reading them. And I hate to be a bit rushy, but I've been awake since 1 a.m. yesterday.
Well,
or I guess 1 a.m. today. Yeah, I got up way early.
We'll get through
them. Tess says, "Love you guys. Glad to see Jimmy back. I heard he has a podcast. Allegedly, that's a vile rumor. Available everywhere podcasts are. That's not even true. It's just available a lot of places podcasts are." Tall Girl says, "Thanks for all you." Here, I'll do like Forrest and I did on the podcast. I'll go full ASMR. Tall Girl says, "Thank you for all you do. I enjoy all the shows. Now, Matt, sing the thing. Hank the penis stabber." I don't know if Matt knows about Hank the penis stabber. Yeah,
I heard something about it and saw a meme, but I don't know it. And
weird. I didn't know it got memed.
Couldn't sing it. By the way,
hell yeah.
It's just so that everybody else doesn't have to go look it up. That's the snake.
That's beautiful.
That is the insularis that Arden is in love with. And that's a really, there are brighter blue ones. And then there's this turquoise here. That's a freaking gorgeous snake.
Pretty sure you're the insularis Arden's in love with.
True.
I never drove a Tesla, so I'm far less associated with incel than anybody.
I went ahead of you, Matt.
I didn't even think of incel. I just wanted to be cute. To tell you the truth.
I went ahead of you so Jimmy could read. So the next one should be from Storm Chaser Noah. There you go.
I don't know if I understand.
I did that one. So the next one.
Yep. I'm getting it. It's just, it hasn't marked it green on mine yet. So I'm going to do Storm Chaser Noah, $10. Thank you so much, Noah. What do you guys figure the forbidden fruit was supposed to be? Sort of serious question. My guess is eggplant or banana. Just my guess. The tradition of doing it as an apple, nobody thinks that it's an apple. And of course the Bible doesn't describe it. I think the intent is that it's not any of it is a fruit unique to that tree. So it's like, ooh, what do you think the fruit was supposed to be? It's none of the fruit that we have. It's not like, oh, we've finally discovered a rare kumquat, and when you eat it, you understand morality. It was a unique tree with a unique fruit. But if you want to say it's eggplant, okay.
I know there's some lore about it being a pomegranate, but whatever.
Only because those things are difficult
people in chat
to
are
eat
saying
if you
it now
don't have
too.
They're difficult to eat if you don't have like 5 slaves to prepare it for you.
There's something about the number of seeds matching some special number in heaven or sins or something. I just want to say there's a cutie watching right now, and I just want to say that I see you.
Thanks, man. But
just throwing that out there. Yeah, I was that way. Anybody in live chat can assume it applies to them, but it really applies to one cutie out there. Dream Empath says, if you are BIPOC, LGBT, suffering from infertility, a woman who values making decisions about her body, and downright sick of the doom and gloom, why in the fuck would you vote for Trump? I don't understand how Republicans have voted for Republicans for a long time, since most of them need fucking health care and they don't have it. And literally, universal health care pays for itself. If you have a healthy workforce, the taxes that come in and increase because of that pays for it. It's so dumb. It's just the dumbest dumb. We dumb all the time.
It's not even just why would you vote for Trump? It is, there are people in that category who are proudly not voting. And I'm just like, thanks for showing that none of the rest of us fucking matter to you.
Yeah.
That none of the people that I care about, that I'm voting on there. Look, I'm a cisgendered, het white male dude with buckets of privilege. I'm a goddamn veteran of 8 years, including a veteran of a foreign war. I was raised in a lower middle class household, but my dad worked a couple jobs and we did okay. So I had options and advantages, all kinds of things. I am the beneficiary of a mountain of privilege. I got in an argument with someone just the other day that I'm online friendly acquaintances with, because I asked them a question and they fucking misunderstood the question, assumed a bunch of stuff about the intent, and then tried to lecture me about privilege. And I'm like, I'm not perfect, but I have consistently tried to use my microphone here, the privilege that I have in the world, to do what I can to raise awareness of other people other than me that I think people should pay attention to, and conversations and topics that don't have anything to do with me. I'm never going to get pregnant. I'm never going to get anyone pregnant. It's not possible for me to get anyone pregnant. It's the same thing. You know, there are people who just can't have kids. I'm one of those people that just can't have kids. So why do I care about abortion? It's never going to impact me. Oh, wait. Yes, it is. Because I have a niece and because I have a mom and because I have other people that I love who have wombs and can get pregnant. And so it will impact me. It's not a women's issue. It's a people issue. And if the people with the privilege don't stand up for the people without the privilege, they have no hope of ever escaping that dearth of privilege. We have no hope of achieving equity or equitableness. But I probably just ruined that clip by mumbling a word wrong. $10 from Gray Mage. $10 from Gray Mage. That's mine. Yours is the next one harder.
10 euros from Warlock says, I wrote morality as well-being. Theist wrote, it ends up in Hume's guillotine. It is not morality, but pragmatism. Morality includes a sense of duty. It cannot be derived from nature. How to respond?
Nuh-uh. I mean, that's basically just them asserting that you talking about, it's the same thing that happens when I have a conversation. When I talk about morality, as Sam Harris and I have both described it, him in the moral landscape and me in the lecture on the superiority of secular morality, we're talking about pragmatism. If somebody wants to say that my air quotes moral system isn't a true moral system because that can't be derived from nature, okay, cool. I have no idea what you're talking about, but I'm going to live my life according to certain principles and judge things as either beneficial or harmful, things that should be encouraged or discouraged. I view that as morality. If you want to play a word game and suggest that what I've got is something other than morality, even though it fills the exact same role, does the exact same thing, and after having debated dozens of theistic moral proffers, I've had many of them agree that you can, in fact, reach correct moral positions from purely secular reasoning, and that it doesn't have to borrow from a worldview, and that this is the nonsense of saying, oh, you can't derive that from nature. No, you can't derive an ought from an is, but these are moral opinions based on moral precepts, that it is generally better to live than to die. It is generally preferable to be healthy, happy, and productive than it is to be miserable. That pain is usually less preferable than pleasure. That suffering is not a goal. That making the world a better place for those people who are in it is complicated and messy, and there's no one size fits all. But we can use science to say, hey, we took this action and it resulted in this many deaths or this many births or this much reduction in poverty or this much increase in poverty. We can value all of those things And we can develop a system that tries to maximize certain ones of those or minimize the harm of others. If that's not what you mean by a moral system, I don't think I'm interested, because I care about making the world a better place. That's how I would reply.
As far as the nature comment goes, relative to our cognitive ability compared to other animals, you can actually see a similar level of difference between our moral systems and theirs. But there are clearly moral systems amongst other animals besides ourselves. And I have yet to read the Meerkat Bible.
Yeah, go watch some monkeys throwing a fit about how they were not paid the same food price, where one of them got grapes and one of them got oats or whatever it was. Yeah, there's a sense of fairness, and it comes from empathy, and it comes from, you can't say altruism can be derived from purely selfish means, which I've talked about dozens of times, but we got lots of super chats, so I'm gonna skip it.
Oh yeah. I guess it's me. Daniel says, scariest movie you've ever seen. The other day on Reddit, I saw a man get basically folded up by an elephant, and that has stuck in my head. Keeps replaying. It'll be in my dreams eventually, but it's not really a movie. It was just a video that somehow is allowed on Reddit of a person dying.
I don't really get scared at movies anymore. I think the one that scared me the most for the longest was The Shining. But it was mainly, there's a moment where Danny's laying in bed and he just like does an open mouth scream. And I used to turn the movie off at that point. I was like, no, I don't need to keep watching this. Don't know why. Thanks, Daniel. $10 for Hank the Penis Stabber. Sing the song, Jimmy. Hank the Penis Stabber. Go fuck yourself, Jimmy. You're gay, homie.
I don't remember the rest of the lyrics I made up. I made them up on the spot, but it was like, Hank the Penis Stabber. I don't even remember what his deal is. He stabs people in the penis for wearing black shirts. That's the God in his moral system. And a caller couldn't justify his God's existence more than, and he had to accept that Hank the Penis Stabber might exist based on my proclamation that he does.
You see, that's a brilliant way to go after somebody's proposed beliefs, to show that whatever epistemological standards they used, whatever measurements they used, whatever criteria, whatever heuristic that they used to convince themselves that a God exists, if that would also convince them of competing views, they need to go back to the drawing board. And that seems to be the case pretty much near universally. Our wonderful moderator. What?
I said, I'll try to put Hank the Penis Stabber on a shirt or something.
There you go. Our wonderful moderator, Classia, waited for dental to be in main care. Can't get a dentist to take it now. Cut off for $5 a month. Too much for a family of 5, one income. Oh.
There's a second part to this. They added Calasia because they couldn't get the text in the super chat. They sent two $10 to pay for this, but yeah.
Okay, now it's impossible to get in with a dentist who accepts it because of the low rates, and our main care was denied because of one income household with 3 children makes $5 a month too much.
That sucks because those tiered systems they shouldn't. In Maine, they may work that way, but like when you have a tiered system, both with taxes or tax credits, like with Obamacare, making $5 a month should just mean that relative to that, of that $5, you must give X percentage of that $5 also in addition to, or taken away from the premium they were covering. And that's the way those things are supposed to work. I don't know what main care is. I don't know how main care works, but it sucks if that is it. If you haven't looked into it further because you saw that cutoff and thought that was how it works, I would advise you to look into it because if it's a tax credit system, it actually just means basically the amount that they would pay of your premium would be reduced relative to that $5 extra that you're making a month too much. And therefore, it would be like $1, like you would have to cover $1 of the premium in that scenario or something like that. Hopefully that is how it works.
Wild,
and we just mistook it.
For anything like this, there's got to be some cutoff point, and somebody's going to end up on the wrong side of a cutoff point. Until you get to a point where you just get rid of the cutoff points, and what we have is healthcare for everybody.
Everybody, yeah. But the cutoffs, at least in the federal level and a lot of state programs, are tiered. So it's not like at this point, it's usually like with Obamacare. If you make less than some dollar amount, basically your full premium or close to your full premium will be covered. It leaves you like $50 or something. But let's say you make $20,000 more than that, then relative to that $20,000, they reduce the amount of the credit. So instead of paying $50 a month, maybe you're paying $150 a month, but the premium fully by itself is still $400 or $500 a month, which is what I pay, and it sucks.
And I pay twice that.
Wow, that really sucks.
Yeah. $5 from Cedar and Sound Studios. Should critical thinking be taught as a course in high school, or rather be an element included in each class taught in high school? I think it should be taught well before high school and included as elements and other things. That problem-solving skills should be refreshed and addressed in every discipline where it could be useful.
I believe that the at the very least, I can't speak to other countries, but the U.S. school system has failed because if you ask the average person to name one cognitive bias, they'll go, "What is a cognitive bias again?" So that's fun. I think we desperately need to be teaching that.
Quick back and forth on Twitter just before we went live with Michael Jones. Well, it wasn't a back and forth. He said something. I replied. I don't even know if he's seen it, but he was saying, I have a bias. You have a bias. Let's stop pretending that you can show I'm wrong by showing I'm the same as you. And I was like, first of all, the fact that we both have biases doesn't mean those biases impact our beliefs equally.
Right.
Also, let's stop pretending that this both sides have a bias stuff in any way demonstrates any evidence for any of your God claims.
Yeah. No shit. That's so dumb.
$10 from Monkey at Typewriter. You don't owe anything to a person who doesn't want you to exist. The only person you owe anything is to yourself, but you're asking the right questions and you're finding the right answers. Yep. Thanks, Monkey.
Hell yeah. Dante says, there's no such thing as a bad question. Well, that's not true. Someone once asked me, is President Biden a Republican or a Democrat? Some people are totally aloof, like an earlier caller tonight. Yikes, man, they're out there. I mean, that's technically a question that there is a context within which it isn't dumb. And I think that's usually what the phrase is more referring to, that you shouldn't presume that you understand why somebody's asked that. By the way, when somebody asks about the Republican or Democrat, they actually might be sort of mistaking the concept of right versus left, because President Biden is only on the left in America. On the American political stage, he would be considered a right of moderate.
This one's yours.
Sorry. Mr. Baruch 10 says, Kampa, all the love in the world. You are allowed to be yourself. No one gets to degrade you, think nothing of you, hold you and your future hostage and get away with it. Do what you can to escape. Hell yeah.
I am caught up to where we are now on one page of super chats remaining. $10 from Skeptoidius. My daughter chose to stay with me despite her mom's attempts to poison her against me for 14 years. It's amazing what training your child like an actual person can do. Yes. That is, I'm very glad that worked out. And thank you for affirming that sentiment repeatedly, that, the most important things is to love your kids, treat them with respect, teach them how to think, teaching them how to think is more important than teaching them what to think, and being open to questions, not being awful, not making their life more complicated. They'll figure it out. And if not, you still do the right thing.
Mr. Borikua 10 said, addendum, if you can't escape, use any means of self-preservation and self-protection to get through the hell. As for wreaking havoc on rights, many know exactly what they're doing, just liars. I honestly think that, I don't think they all know what they're doing. Not all, you didn't say all, you said many, and that's probably true. But I think a lot of the people don't recognize that their position of I'm not voting because they're the same on Gaza is two things. One, an expression that they're not very deep thinkers, and two, a tremendous expression of privilege. That even if they come from a non-privileged group, they can see themselves surviving and not the next 4 years of Trump or Harris equally. And that takes a lot of privilege to be able to stand by.
Yep. $10 from Brooks Dingus. My concept. I'm queer, Matt's gay, homies, and Jimmy should get a podcast for jimmying themselves. Why would anybody want Jimmy to have a podcast?
I like that he had a concept of a super chat.
It's nice.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Jimmy, when are you going to start a podcast, man?
I have a podcast. That's the good news.
Jimmy has a podcast?
I've heard. Jimmy Snow has a podcast. Ryan says, hey, Jimmy, much love from Cheyenne, Wyoming. Thanks for all the amazing content over the years. I love you too, Matt. I appreciate your marvelous gray matter. Did we know each other in Cheyenne? Are you a friend that you're saying hi, or are you just saying?
I think you might have asked this previously. This feels very deja vu to me.
I'm sorry.
$20 from David L. Matt. What's that? Oh, yeah. $20 from David L. Matt. Thank you for helping me with my snake questions the past 2 days. You're all awesome. Keep up the amazing work. Yeah. So David is a fan of the show who is going to be getting first snake for his kid and asked questions, and I provided some answers back, because I don't just answer questions about religion. As a matter of fact, if you email me about snakes right now, you're more likely to get an answer about that than you are about, hey, I read this religious argument.
It is funny to see someone from Cheyenne and know that there's just a random person in the chat who was likely like in the same Walmart as my parents within the last month or something. Anyway, Moira Bonnie says, Jimmy, I love you like a brother. Yeah, a brother. We'll go with that. LOL. JK, go fuck yourself, Jimmy. Fergal, Burgle, Manurgle, Burgle. This time I got Fergie correct. Oh, my name is pronounced Moira. I hope I said it correctly.
Moira.
Most of my brothers loved me very poorly, so it's not the brag you think it is.
See, more, loves you like a brother in the way that you should have been loved like a brother.
That's right.
$10 from Cedar and Stone Sound Studio. Sorry. While I'm distracted listening to whack ideologies, does anyone else notice Jimmy looks a little like Obi-Wan from episode 2? Jimmy, look into the camera and say, hello there, in a Scottish accent. Here, let's try this again. Jimmy, look into the camera and say hello there in a Scottish accent.
Hello there. I mean, that's the way I hear it. Yeah, thanks. But that was more McGinnis than the other one. Thank you. I'm pleased with that. I'm looking much healthier these days. I probably seem least healthy of all today, but truly this is actually tiredness. I had a really, really good day. Health-wise.
Jimmy was going to cancel. I announced that it was going to be Arden. And Jimmy's like, no, I'm feeling up to doing it. And I was like, yes. And then it was, well, Jimmy's going to come in for a little while, but he might have to leave. So we'll pull Arden in if we need to. And I was like, no, he's not. Jimmy's going to stay and do the whole fucking show.
I bet you, though, within 10 minutes of the show being over, the amount of time it takes me to get my CPAP mask on is how much time I will be awake after the show is over.
Well, then let's crank out these last 15 or 20 super chats here.
Ben says, thanks to Jimmy and Eric some months ago for the advice to put my foot down for my wedding. My mom chose the relationship with my husband and I over her zealotry. I hope Com's mom will do the same. I'm very jealous of people who get to say this. So fucking jealous.
$10 from Captain Zero. No one chooses to be born. The world is foisted upon all of us. In that context, do you think having children is problematic? Nope. Not casting aspersions on people who have kids. I just think too much. Sorry. No, there's a notion. You're not the first person to think along these lines. It even has a name. I've done videos about it. It's called antinatalism. And one of the key arguments of antinatalists is that because you cannot get the consent of the person you're bringing into the world, that it is somehow intrinsically immoral for you to bring them into the world, because there will be suffering. That's a virtual guarantee. And the problem is that they don't know how much suffering there is going to be. They don't know whether or not the areas where there's not suffering is going to be better or worse. And the individuals that you bring into the world have the right to make their own decisions about their life afterwards. Nobody consented to it ahead of time, but I'm happy to be here. And so is almost everybody, with some exceptions. But the other option is the voluntary end of the human species. And you can already take that option. That option is already available. It doesn't need to be foisted on anybody else. I don't know.
Bo says gender abolition does not mean monochrome uniforms.
Fair. there are a number of different people who are advocating for gender abolition in a number of different aspects. Some of them might be okay with monochrome uniforms, but at a minimum, if you remove those distinctions where anybody's recognizing or identifying people by gender, it just completely abolish gender. I think it denies or hides, or both, something important about who we are. Not that everybody fits in any of those boxes, but we are a social species. We are a normatively sexually dimorphic species. We are a societal species that not only interacts, but interacts in a variety of roles. It could be that in 1,000 years, instead of caring at all about gender or gender roles, we're divided into 4 or 5 completely different categories that have little or no tie to understanding about sex or gender. But yes, in agreement, we don't have to throw on monochrome uniforms and march lockstep to I have no gender. $10 from Gray Mage. I have 3 children and 0 ex-presidents. When my kids are safe, I'll worry about him. Okay.
I don't know what 0 ex-presidents.
I think that just means that Gray Mage is going to worry about their 3 kids and not worry about Trump.
Got it.
The problem is, if Trump gets in, or whether Trump gets in or not, again, impacts your 3 kids. But yeah.
Alishana Silverbow says, it's funny how 100 years ago everyone owned horses, but only rich people own cars. And now everyone owns cars, but only rich people own horses. How the stables have turned. I'll see myself out. As a person from Wyoming, I will tell you there's a lot of poor people with horses still.
But also how the stables have turned.
That was pretty funny.
I mean, like, I have thought many times of putting myself in the O. Henry pun off here in Austin, and I'm a huge fan of puns and cleverness. And thank you, Aliashana. That's peak cleverness for today. $10 from Monkey to Typewriter. My ex literally said to me, I expect you to cooperate with letting the boy believe in Santa. I think she's still upset with how hard I laughed. Couldn't agree with Jimmy more. Yeah. But, you know, ex. My ex loved, still loves Christmas, anything and everything about it. I like Christmas, but I'm indifferent. And so if I was with someone that loved Christmas, I'd be doing Christmassy stuff. And I'm with someone who doesn't love Christmas, so we don't do Christmassy stuff. But I would think, Arden, if we have a kid, are we gonna lie to them about Santa, or are we gonna tell them the truth right off the get-go?
No, I'm not lying to my child.
There you go. So, and I fully support that decision and would participate. So if we have a kid, ours will not be of the Santa variety.
I know you just promised this, but my tiredness is turning into nausea and I need to take my meds. So I'm going to tap out. Arden, if you're welcome to take over my spot, please.
Slide in.
All right.
Have a good day.
You.
We appreciate you.
Good night, everybody.
Thanks,
Ryan,
Jimmy.
I did see your follow-up message, Ryan. That's cool. All right. Cool. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
We've got about 10 or so left to get to. You can just put me up with it and chime in as you feel like.
I'm good. I was ready. I had a whole thing ready so I could go as soon as I was needed.
Wow, you are just a wonderful, lovely, talented person who I adore.
Is this one for me, or is that you?
Yes.
All right, $10 from Gemini Go Sick. Roses are red, violets are blue. Elon's bigotry makes me sad. His poem sucks, but it's better than Musk's, because that guy's a fucking douchebag. Hashtag go fuck yourself. Hashtag you're gay, homie. Hashtag Fergal Burgle Manergal Burgle. Hashtag don't apologize to him. Hashtag team coffee table. Hashtag use all 2,000 characters, or 200. I can count. Thank you, Jamnik 06.
Thank you so much. $10 from Secular Felonist. I got felon on the brain. It's felinist. not someone who's guilty of 34 felonies like our former president. Matt, will you be doing a review of the Kamala Trump debate on your channel? I already did. You're my go-to for debate reviews. Promise and I talked about it last week on the show.
I think they meant like a debate review on your channel like you've done before.
Oh, yeah, they do say on your channel. No. I don't tend to post debate reviews of other people's debates. I just kind of do my own. I get accused of being arrogant enough without jumping into everybody else's debate and telling them what I think they did wrong or could have done better or anything else. But I touched on most of it. A lot of this isn't a debate. These things like that are, to quote the West Wing, they're more like joint press conferences, especially when they don't allow back and forth. It's just, I'm going to ask you a question, you tell me your answer. I'm going to ask you a question, you tell me your answer. What was wrong with his answer? What was wrong with her answer? Oh, there you go. It is a weak debate format. It is a chance for people to give some version of their stump speech on some issues and to avoid other ones. And I think I said most of what I needed to say on the Trump-Harris debate.
I hear you. I think it could be good content for people like to kind of like watch how to process a lot of the information being thrown at them, because it's always spun. You know, there's always the spin happening to every bit of information you're getting, and learning how to like suss that out and translate it in real time could be useful to people. But is this one you or is this me? Not in control.
It's you.
Okay, $10 from Kai CD. See, Kai is always on the credits. Kai is one of our patrons, a high enough tier to get on the credits. So if you want to be like Kai, you should go to patreon.com/calltheline. But anyway, they said, I watch TikTok debates with different people. It's not the best sample, but most of these debates expose Trump voters as dishonestly obtuse or genuinely ignorant of facts. No in between. Any thoughts? Yeah, no, I would agree. I think they're either like maliciously, intentionally obtuse, or genuinely so ignorant that almost in the way that I can't blame my cat when she continues to knock stuff off, but I really want to blame her when she continues to knock stuff off the table. I just have to be like, this poor little idiot does not know any better. I can't really criticize him too bad. Yeah, except, you know, the outcomes of their actions are way worse than my cat knocking some shit off the table.
Yeah. I kind of put them in the same category as flat earthers at this point. And as we saw tonight in some of the discussions, it's very much here's a step-by-step, undeniable, logical process that leads to this conclusion. And you accept these things, but you reject the conclusion. And then if you dig in and you push back further and further, you get to, well, I don't trust the government, or it's all rigged, or something like that allows them to dismiss any fact, any bit of data that is inconsistent with their preconceived notions. It is dishonest without them even realizing that they're dishonest to themselves. They are actively engaged in deceiving themselves. But $10 from El Jason. I'm more of a VHS man than a beta male. Yes, I'm old. Yes, I can appreciate that. I just explained Betamax to Arden a couple weeks ago.
To be fair, I'd heard of Betamax before.
Sure.
Because my dad was a musician in a band my whole life. So I was a little bit keen on music tech.
Yeah, it wasn't, well, this is a video cassette format, but it wasn't that she was completely unfamiliar with Betamax. It was that I've talked before about competing standards.
Right.
What?
Like VHS Betamax war, right? Like who
yeah, but also I was part of the DVD DivX war and got thrown out of like a CompUSA or something, whatever, for correcting one of their salespeople because he was trying to sell the DivX format. And I was pointing out how DivX format was a scam and a lie, and the DVD was superior, and that I didn't want to have a device have to be hooked up to my phone with a subscription so that I could watch a fucking movie. And now everything's hooked up and you have a subscription to watch a movie.
$10 from Kai CD again. Hey, Kai. Amber Nicolette Thurman is one story that I know where Roe v. Wade being overturned directly led to her death. She had a 6-year-old. I can't fathom how anyone could lack the empathy and vote GOP. Yeah. Also, you know, the who's like the Trump TikToker who films himself eating food and being like posing a jack off question, a JQ question, and then we'll just like be like, oh, funny, you know. Like, I did one about this, like, oh, I can't wait for the people who are bleeding out in the parking lot to show up or to start voicing, you know, identifying themselves, as if that was never going to happen. And several people have piped up to be like, no, actually, that is exactly what happened to me. Now I'm suffering long-term health consequences for the rest of my life because doctors couldn't treat me because they were afraid of going to jail for providing me medical care. Yeah, it's fucked up.
$10 from Moira Bonnie. Hey, Matt, I understand the fear. I don't know what it is, but that sort of description also scares me. How you describe that scene, I get it. Yep. Thank you so much, and thanks for yet another super chat.
$10 Canadian, allegedly, from Nicasius. Hashtag don't apologize to him needs to be in merchandise, please. I know I pinged you in chat, but for anyone who didn't hear, just keep your eyes peeled. We've got there's a few designs that are currently sitting in our merch back end that we're just doing a little bit of last minute stuff before they go live, but you can expect some things of that variety to come your way soon.
Another $10 from Moira Bonnie. I work for a health company. If anyone wants to know what their options are, it won't let me share my work number. LOL, I'm not in sales. I wouldn't earn anything. People should just know their options. Right. The best thing to do is to post in a Discord that you're available for questions if people want. I mean, obviously we can't vouch for you or promote you, although you've given like, I don't know, $40, $50 a night. So either you're trying to promote your business on the sly, or you're just awesome and nice, in which case, yeah, maybe hop in the Discord or arrange in chat to talk to people offline. But yeah, please don't use our chat as a way to solicit business.
Yeah,
I come close enough to that, just telling people when we're going to go sell snakes.
Well, that's different because we're a host, but like I will probably cut if you try to use our stuff to do business.
I don't think that's what Moira is doing. I wanted to warn other people as well, but thank you.
$10 from Ryan. Hey, Jimmy, don't think we bumped into each other, but maybe. I'm also an ex-Mormon, so I might have bumped into you at the Stake Center. Congratulations on leaving this black hole of a town. Well, I'll have to mention to Jimmy that the super chat came through. But I'm sure he wouldn't know either.
$10 from Stephanie Helms. Hey, Stephanie, where can I get a baker's dozen gender roles for $10? I don't know if you can get any dozen anything for $12 for $10 anymore. Yeah, I hear you. All right, this one you get to read because it's the last super chat until somebody sends another one in, and it's funny.
$10 from Moira Bonnie again. LOL, Matt and Arden's child would grow up thinking their dad was Santa Claus. Right now, anyway.
And not because I just say ho all the time.
Yes, he does call me ho every single night, nonstop. That's what he meant by that. Alrighty. Oh, wow. You're doing the super chat, so in my mind, I'm not producing. And I was like, well, that's it. I'm waiting for us to go to the next scene. I have to do it.
Yeah. So. We didn't show off any snakes, so
we got this.
Grab one of the babies from the last clutch, the one on the far right that we're not completely sure. We know it's vanilla. We're pretty sure it's Huffman, Orange Dream, and Calico. We will let you take a peek at this one. She's got hatchlings in her office. And so we will show off one of the newest babies that we have. So Arden has one of our newest babies. Definitely vanilla. probably also Huffman, Orange Dream, and Calico. Wow, I can see the white coming up the side already. It's definitely Calico, but such a pretty snake. And that one, in a couple more meals, will be going with us to shows. Available to go find a new loving home with somebody. All right, on that note, the super chat portion of the show is done. If you get one in now, I just don't know what to tell you. You missed the window, but we're really grateful. As I mentioned before, check out all the other shows that are available on the Line Network, and over the next week or so, shows that are going to be happening include, but aren't limited to, because Jimmy might do something wild. Tomorrow's Transatlantic Call-In show starts at 6 p.m. Central with Josie and Ben. On Sunday, the Sunday show is at 2 p.m. with Seth Andrews and Paul. And the Sunday show after dark is with myself and Forrest Valkai. Skeptalk the next Monday is John Gleason and Paul Inns. Tuesday's Chewed Gum is Eve Was Framed and Alyssa Ljub. And I will not be here next Wednesday at 6 o'clock. By the way, all these shows for the next week are at 6 o'clock. But Jimmy may be doing a live show in the place of this episode of The Hang Up. Do you have anything to add to the wrap up?
Just thank you to the mods, and thank you to Stephanie for call screening tonight. If you want to get your name on this awesome list, you can go to patreon.com/call the line. Wow, how did I just forget our patreon.com/call the line? Yeah, sorry. Wow. Oh, you can get access to an exclusive monthly podcast that Jimmy does, interviewing hosts on the line, occasional Q&As, merch drops, and all that good stuff. But
and Jimmy Snow has a podcast.
That's true.
Anyway.